buy a beer in the neighborhood. Call Joe Murray.
I happen to trust Joe Murray.
First time I ever met Joe Murray was at a Hooters.
Good Sunday morning to you. Welcome into 98.5 The Sports Hub. I'm Joe Murray, and there's no man I'd rather be here with today than one Paul Perillo of Patriots.com.
Thanks,
Good morning.
Joe.
Good morning, Paul. How are you?
I'm doing great. Doing great. Feel like I haven't been on the radio at all this weekend. What a draft odyssey. I feel like it gets longer every year.
I actually watched the entire day yesterday. Not because I wanted to. There was some horrible NBA games on and other things throughout the day, but I was fascinated with Mel Kiper. I don't know what it is about that guy. We did something during the week where people are trying to petition to get Mel Kiper into the NFL Hall of Fame.
Oh, really? So Mel is, and we were talking about him a little bit on our shows on Patriots Unfiltered. He is the trailblazer, though. I mean, there are a million Mel Kipers now. He was the first. He was the first sort of regular guy who just decided, I'm going to be totally immersed in the draft, and I'm going to make a cottage industry out of it. You know, back in the late 70s, early 80s. Now, there were other guys that followed. There were like former scouts that sort of got. Joel Bushbaum is a guy who, you know, back in the day was considered to be the best in terms of a guy who didn't actually work for a team, but followed the draft and the prospects. But Mel Kiper brought it to TV and brought that whole draftnik thing. He was the first.
I'll give him his due. But he was something this week, and I think he was more of the hot take guy than maybe the guru you're talking about. Like the guy who, you know, goes into the draft notes and, you know, this guy should be here or this is a top 100 pick. He was something this week. I'm out on him going to the Hall of Fame. Like,
no.
Like Steve Sable of NFL Films.
Different.
Right, exactly. Right. That's a whole different thing. And we'll get into Kiper later on because there were some really uncomfortable moments. I know there's people who like Mel Kiper, and for the most part, does Kiper deserve his flowers for what he's done? Yes, he does. But man, yesterday, his thoughts on Shedeur Sanders, it was like, dude, I think you're missing the point. It's not about his ability. The league has spoken on Shedeur Sanders. The league spoke. The fact he fell that far, like he was defending him. And then he goes on to say that the NFL doesn't know how to evaluate quarterback talent. And then I start losing it there. So again, I ask, who is Mel Kiper? Who was Mel Kiper? I know he was the first guy who started in 79 and then was on TV in 84. I got the whole background on it, but him just starting to call out the league on their thoughts on Shedeur Sanders, I don't know why. It was like a dumpster fire that I couldn't look away from yesterday.
Yeah, and we were on the air for most of the time, so we didn't hear a lot of these things live as they were happening. It's obviously the Sanders situation was extremely polarizing for a lot of people. Much like things that are that complicated, though, it's about a lot more than just one answer. It's not a simple answer. The NFL doesn't know how to evaluate quarterback talent, or no, there was collusion among the owners, or no, he just wasn't that good. None of those individual things were the answer. It was a combination of factors, and I think you kind of touched on it, Joe. He didn't go in the first round, in my view, just my personal view, because he wasn't good enough. But the fact that he was still there in the fifth round had a lot more to do than just ability. Now you're talking about how the teams are treating him and how they're perceiving his leadership and interview and all that stuff about the off-field baggage that comes with the Sanders name and Dion and all that stuff. I think it might be a cautionary tale for some of these guys. Be careful how you go. If you have the talent, that's going to trump all, Joe. If he was a no-brainer, top of the round prospect, he'd have gone at the top of the round. Can we agree on that?
Absolutely. He did a lot of visits.
But when
too.
you do not have, like I hear a lot of talk about all these guys that have these character question marks, and they still go, because they don't have ability question marks. So sometimes when you just have over the top ability, teams will look the other way at some of the red flags from an off field perspective. But when you have questions for both, you're going to slide. Now, I don't understand how he slid behind, say, Dylan Gabriel, as an example, who I think is a terrific college quarterback who is absolutely ill-equipped to be an NFL quarterback. He's far too small. How he goes behind a guy like that, that's obviously has way more to do than just ability. But a really polarizing situation for the weekend, for sure.
Oh, God. I couldn't stop watching. It was...
And they couldn't stop talking about it. They couldn't stop commenting on it on Twitter. It was just, it was one of those car wrecks that you couldn't stop watching.
I couldn't stop. Paul Perillo's here, everybody. Some know it as sunshine.com. I'm going to call it patriots.com.
It's sunshine.com this weekend. I don't know if you know, but we're very happy with the draft this weekend.
I was going to say, we will do plenty of draft stuff, and I know Paul's done it all week. I did, oh, God, I did how many hours? 5. So I've only really done 8 hours of draft. You've probably done more than
a little
me.
more than that, yeah.
I have the Vegas Blues. You might be able to hear it in my voice today. I got back on basically Tuesday night, and I'm still not right. But I'm here, and I came in today because I wanted to work with Paul Perillo. We live in the same town now, and whenever I go somewhere, I always have someone say to me, "Hey, Paul Perillo lives in Peabody," and I say, "Hey, I know that," and so I feel like we're neighbors. So I felt like it was a good day to be here together. So we're going to do everything. Football's on the table. We'll get into the Patriots draft stuff. The Celtics play tonight in a pivotal Game 4. And when I say pivotal, there's a lot on the line here. I don't want to. I'm hyping it up a little bit. But as far as health goes for the Celtics,
I think you're right.
It's important to knock this one out tonight.
Yeah. I don't think that a lot of people think there's much of a shot of them not winning the series. But in their best interest, it looks like Cleveland, is, they're going to be in position to move on. Like, you want to move on with these injury problems that are starting to prop up a little bit. You want to make this a 5-game series. Tonight is a pivotal game. I agree.
Yep. It's and plus now all these other teams are starting to close things out. I watched a little bit of the Golden State game last night. I'm still nervous of them if they happen to get through the West. I still think they're a really good team. But the Bruins stuff this week, I'm actually kind of interested with all the draft stuff. There were some draft comments regarding the Bruins who are trying to, I guess, find a new coach, but Joe Sacco's still in the mix. We'll have all that for you. We're here the entire day until 2 o'clock at 617-779-0985. I had a leadoff thought on the draft overall, though. The NIL is killing the kids more than the league. Quinn Ewers should have stayed in school, should have transferred and got an NIL deal. He would have got $6-7 million, would have competed for a national championship, and probably would have been a first or second round pick the next year. Instead, he gets drafted in, the 7th round?
Yeah.
I mean, the NIL for these kids, it's great that they get paid. I'm glad they're getting paid. Sure. But the idea of going pro now for them, there's no point. I wonder what it's going to do for the draft overall. But there were a lot of people that if they transferred or went to another school and took the NIL money, it would have really helped out their future. Quinn Ewers probably should have went out last year. But it really burned him this year. There were a lot of guys that went late in the draft this year. And it's the first year where I think the NIL impacted the kids more than the draft. But do you think it could hurt the draft? And do you think it hurt it this year with the talent that was in the draft?
So I don't think it necessarily hurt it this year, but I do think there's potential for people to learn from exactly what you're talking about. And I don't think the NIL, I think, is going to ultimately hurt the NFL, because I do think that some of those guys are going to stay. I mean, obviously Sanders is in a different economic situation coming from the family that he's in. Obviously, he's not wondering where his next paycheck is coming from, Shador. But he's another guy, Joe.
Yeah.
I mean, if he stays, if he goes, I don't know, If he goes to Miami, he's going to make $5 million, right?
Oh, man.
In NIL?
Yeah, definitely.
$5 to $10 million.
Yep.
If he stays in school and goes somewhere, now he would have obviously stayed at Colorado with his dad, but I think that some of these guys that aren't locks for the first round are going to look at it and say, well, I can stay another year, bank some more money that's guaranteed, and then I can go and still have a chance to play in the NFL. So I do think it has a chance potentially down the road to impact the talent pool in the draft. I think this was the last year of the NFL draft where the remnants of the COVID year are finally psyched. Like Tyler Shuck, 7 years of college football.
Ferguson, the tight end, has been played in 2018.
So it's finally gonna start. I think cycling itself out, and I think this might have been the last year of just an abundance of prospects that are in school. It'll be back to the way it had been, where you get a lot of underclassmen, and those are the guys that go at the top of the draft.
All right. Well, you mentioned sunshine.com. Coming up on the other side here, Paul, I want you to tell me where the Patriots went wrong in the draft. Ooh. All right? Ooh. Tell me where they went wrong. And feel free to call in. Anything you guys want to get into today, we're here. Any topics. Just because Paul's a football guy doesn't mean we're just going to talk football today, because we will not. I can't do it. He can't do it. Jeff, I know, is back there. He's ready for something. Maybe I'll give you a Vegas story or two. If you'd like, I can certainly do that. We're here till 2 o'clock today. Again, the phone number is 617-779-0985. We're on YouTube as well. You can join in. I'll read some of the chats. I already see Riz in there. I see Joe Bros, Joshua, and the crew. We already got 300 people watching on YouTube right now, Paul. Looking to see you today.
If I had known, I would have put my makeup on.
Hey, well, you look just fine. What's the sweatshirt you got there?
Patriots.
Ooh,
Sunshine.com.
The old Boston Patriots. Yeah. I like that. All right, we'll take a quick break. He's Paul Perillo. I'm Joe Murray. You're listening to 98.5 The Sports Hub.
Don't go anywhere. There's more Joe Murray.
right, back here at 98.5 The Sports Hub. Paul Perillo, Patriots.com.
Set up with the 95th pick, I think. So they ended up being close to a 5-hour show on Friday night. And then we just did a quick 2, maybe 3 hours yesterday to sort of get through the 5th round. But yeah, there was a lot of excitement. I think, you teased before the first break there, Joe, about what I didn't like about the draft. And to be honest with you, and this is very sunshine.com-y, there wasn't really much that I didn't like. The thing that I would say that kind of bugged me the most had nothing to do with anything that they picked or anything that they had to do, but it was more about the situation that they put themselves in. And that's right at the very top of the draft. You had the 4th overall pick of the draft, and you had to take a tackle. And that bothered me that they put themselves in a situation like that where, because of such mismanagement, you had no choice. You had to fill the most gaping hole that you could possibly have on a football team. And I'm not saying that I wish they didn't take Will Campbell. Will Campbell was the best left tackle in the draft. Patriots got him. We had a chance to sit down and talk to him on our show on Patriots Unfiltered on Friday. Really enjoy talking to him. Kind of freaks me out that he's like 6 months older than my son. So I'm coming to grips with that a little bit, Joe. But I'm thrilled that he appears to be the real deal. And we'll see the whole tackle guard thing. We'll see how that unfolds. So I have no problem with the pick. I love the pick. I think that they had to make it. It bothers me that they backed themselves into a corner and had to take a left tackle and weren't able to necessarily explore all the options that are there and should be there for such a high pick.
Yeah, and I think it just goes back to the way things have gone over the last couple of years. Elliot Wolf's talking this morning, and they asked him, hey, what was the difference between last year and this year? And he basically says we weren't as organized a year ago. So
don't you feel that, though, just watching the direction of what they did? I felt like they had a better grasp of the board. They took most of the players they took were, and this isn't the be-all, end-all, like where they're projected. We know that these draft experts, we were just making fun of Mel Kiper in the first segment. We know that these draft experts aren't always right, but I just feel like when they take a guy like Travion Henderson in the 2nd round, and you hear from people like Sean McVay with the Rams, guys that you respect, guys that know offense, and they express admiration for the pick, a guy that they liked too. Doesn't that make you feel better than when Sean McVay was with Les Snead, smirking about Cole Strange?
Yeah.
It doesn't mean it's right that other guys like the same guys that you do, but I don't know how you feel about it, Joe, but I feel better when one of the better offensive minds in football was really interested in the guy that you took in the 2nd round.
I do too. It was much more organized. It seems like they had a big board. They had a ranking system. They identified guys and even moved back at times to take the best available center in the league, which we'll get to. Just getting back to the way they set it up, I think they did the best thing possible. Obviously, drafting Drake May a year ago, like Joe Alt was there. Would you rather the quarterback or Joe Alt? Like, I'll take the quarterback every time.
Me too.
But now you have Will Campbell and Drake May. And as this rebuild happens, you have the two essentially highest positions or highest paid positions in football under rookie deals right now. Quarterback, left tackle. You'll have to figure out Christian Gonzalez in the offseason, which I think they'll do, hopefully. But for the most part, those 3 positions will be locked up for the Patriots. And now they become a more desirable football team. And that's been the issue, right? People who don't want to play in New England. Like Stephon Diggs coming and taking the deal that he did makes them more desirable. Drake May makes them more desirable. Will Campbell might make them more desirable because they can spend the money and they don't have to put more money into a tackle. So as I agree with you, like they put themselves in this situation, but at the same time, now they are more desirable and they have a defense in place, it looks like. They went mostly offense in the draft, and I think
mostly
it's the best
defense
thing.
in free agency, mostly offense in the draft. And I agree with you. I think that they've improved immensely from a talent perspective. Now, there's a long way still to go. But I mean, you could make an argument that they had upwards of 12 to 15 significant holes on the roster when the season ended. They, went about trying to fill a lot of those holes. They had no real pass rushers at all. They went out and signed a couple in Landry and Chason, I think, is more of a situational guy, but he could help in that regard. Is that done? Of course not. Of course not. But they addressed it. They needed, a more athletic kind of a linebacker to sort of fill the shoes, and Robert Spillane, I think, does some of that stuff. They badly needed a second corner, and Carlton Davis, certainly fits that. And I haven't even gotten to the biggest price guy that was available in Milton Williams on the inside, who was the in a lot of people's estimation, the best free agent available, period, regardless of position. So that goes a long way to help your defense from last year, which people forget, Joe, was every bit as bad as the offense was. All those DVOA metrics and numbers that people like to look at, they were 31, 30, 31, 32, and everything across the board, offense and defense. So, yes, you got the left tackle. That should help you no longer be 31st in pass block win rate and run block win rate and 32nd. You should improve in that area. You have Morgan Moses and Will Campbell now at tackle. That's a dramatic upgrade over what you had last year. Now, there's still some depth issues because, one or two of these guys that we're talking about, they're going to go down with injuries, right, Joe? I mean, everybody has them, and they're inevitable. So they're going to need to – this is not going to be a one-year complete fix-all, but I think they're in much better shape right now to go into a season and compete than they were at this time a year ago.
Yeah, I've made the joke, Paul, that Mike Vrabel's been Michael Corleone. He's come in and he's whacked all the capos, right?
Take care of a lot of family business.
He took care of a lot of family business. And I think yesterday in the draft, taking a long snapper, could that be the next move off one of their old captains, 33 years old? I think one thing was clear. I know that Elliott Wolf is probably going to get some of the credit here from the organization, but there's no doubt about it. This is Mike Vrabel's team. I wasn't high on the Vrabel.
Could not agree with you more.
But I wasn't high on the hire, by the way. Just thought offensive mind in this league is where it's at.
And truth be told, I felt the same way. Now, but that doesn't mean that I don't think that this is Mike Vrabel's team. This is his team, and he's trying to build it in his mind, his image,
and I think
his vision.
And I think that at camp, there is competitions. It doesn't matter if you've been here before. That's the one thing I like. Last year, they extended everybody, right? Oh, this is the running back, and this guy's going to play here. There wasn't a lot of competition on last year's team, and they weren't good either.
So, Joe, what did they do last year in terms of situating the roster in the offseason? They took as many of the guys that were already here and re-upped them.
Yeah, all the guys that they didn't want from Bill Belichick, they just signed them all.
That serves two, in my opinion, negative purposes. Number one, you're taking a bunch of guys that won 4 games and you're saying, we want all you back. Number two, to your point about competition, Joe, well, if you think that there was any chance that after the 23 season, when they went 4-13 in Bill's last year, that, those various guys, Devon Godchow, Kyle Duggar, Mike Owenu, Hunter Henry, Kendrick Bourne, you think any of those guys thought, geez, we only won 4 games, I'm a veteran and I'm a starter, but I'm guaranteed nothing. Well, no, you're guaranteed something because they re-upped you. They decided so how much competition is there when, I don't know, they re-upped about a dozen guys.
Yep.
And again, I wouldn't sit there and tell you any individual decision they made was bad. Mike Owenu was probably their best offensive lineman. You kind of had to try to re-sign him. Hunter Henry, they had no tight ends at all. Hunter Henry's been a good player for them. So I'm not telling you that all the individuals that they re-signed were bad moves, but I think it was a bad move to re-sign all of them. You got to make tough decisions, and you got to figure out who's part of your future, who's going to be here, how do I continue to create competition. I think Mike Vrabel and Ryan Cowden and Elliott Wolf have done a great job of that this year. The free agents that they brought in 10 to 12 free agents that are going to, I think, be in line to start. Mm-hmm. That's overhauling your roster right there. And now I think you you just augmented that with what you did over the weekend in the draft. You created more competition. Kyle Williams is a guy who's going to make life uncomfortable on a guy like Kendrick Bourne or Kayshon Boutte and other guys. Now,
how about Jalen Polk?
Now, if those guys are better than Kyle Williams and they deserve to play, that's great too. I don't care who it is. I just want the competition to bring out the best in the players.
Yep.
I don't care who ends up winning the competition, just as long as it exists.
It's a good point on that. Last year it was, let's just re-sign everybody, and it kind of kept things quiet for a little bit. The only one who didn't was Matthew Judon, who got traded. That trade worked out.
It was a great trade, but he was the only one that didn't get the money.
Yep. He was the only one. He called out ownership.
Jabril Peppers, another one that got re-upped. Like, everybody got re-upped. Duggar, Peppers, Godchow, David Andrews, Mike Owenu, Hunter Henry, Kendrick Bourne. They all got new contracts, except for Matthew Judon. Now, that was a terrific trade. That was probably the best move that Elliott Wolf made.
Yep. And we're giving Elliott Wolf credit for that?
Well, it was his trade.
It was. All right.
Absolutely.
Someone in chat is already saying, stop saying Elliott Wolf. Well, I don't know. He's the guy that
I would give Mike Vrabel the credit for what's going on right now.
Yep, me too.
But that trade last year, Mike Vrabel wasn't here. That was an Elliott Wolf trade last year.
Absolutely right. All right, you guys have heard from us. We get some leadoff thoughts. Let's get to the phones here at 617-779-0985. Let's start with John, who's in the car. What's up, John?
Hey, guys, there was a debate on who they would take in the second round in the draft room, and I'd love to know what you guys think and who that debate was over.
Well, they took Travion Henderson, right?
Yeah. I mean, it's hard to specifically pinpoint who they were, having a disagreement over. The way I understood it, the way I interpret the quotes, is someone got taken before they were up that they were strongly interested in, so it didn't end up mattering.
You think Higgins was their guy?
I think it could have been a guy like Jaden Higgins. I think it could have been an interior offensive lineman, because I think that's one of the few spots that kind of went unaddressed. I was listening to Alex a little bit as we were driving in, and I agree with Alex Barth. There were a handful of guards that were slated to go in the top, say, 100, and I think that they probably didn't really get an opportunity to take one of those. No, I love Travion Henderson. I think that was a really solid pick. I'll take that over a guard any day. But I wonder if maybe there was someone available that got scooped up. I think Miami took a guard, a pick or two ahead of them in the second round. Yeah, just something that stood out to me.
Yeah, Miami took Jonas Avaiania from Arizona. I don't know if that's how you say it, but I tried.
You notice I said a guard. Because it's not my first rodeo, Joe.
Yes.
I butcher a lot of names.
No, trust me.
That would be one of them.
You should have heard me when the Bruins traded for Hustadinov, and I didn't know. That was a funny one. And Howie was always big on that. He always got me on those ones back in the day. He'd always get me on those hockey guys. But you're right. Maybe they were interested in a guy. So just on the Travion Henderson thing, just take out any NFL prospects on it. He was a dynamic college player who happened to split time a year ago with Judkins, and they actually went to Henderson and were like, "Do you mind if you share carries with Judkins? He's going to come over. He's a transfer," and he was all about it. And I know Henderson was trying to keep his body right. He was projected to be a second, third round pick. It's exactly where he is now. Does Vrabel's relationship with Ohio State and the fact that he was there, did that impact them making the move here? And the other thing is he's a hell of a pass blocker, somebody that can really help in protection. I always thought that way about Ramondre Stevenson when he was in college as well, but this guy never fumbled, and maybe that's one of the reasons why they brought him in.
Yeah, I mean, I liked that story too about before they brought Judkins in as a transfer. Ryan Day had talked to him. Is this going to affect you? Is this going to be a negative? And he said if it helps the team, he's all for it. And that's the way ultimately, those are the kinds of stories you hear after teams that win championships, Joe. That's championship mentality, right? And I don't want to overblow it. I mean, I know there's probably a lot of good guys, and it's not going to matter if you can't play. Like, you can't just, I think Vrabel said it in the pre-draft press conference, we're not going to try to put a team together with a bunch of good guys. That doesn't win either. But I do like to hear those kinds of stories. Team-oriented, hardworking players tend to have success. So I mean, I really like the Henderson pick, mostly for his ability, but I like to hear those stories too.
Oh, I'm in on his ability. I'm actually kind of curious how they handle this backfield. I don't think Stevenson's going anywhere. And I do like Gibson's. He runs high, and I know he can catch the ball a little bit. But I think Henderson's going to get reps right away. I don't think this is a draft of running back, let him sit for the first year and develop like some others in the past. I think they drafted him to make an impact right away.
Well, and the other thing, too, is if you want to use him as a third down back, probably the skill that stands out the most for him is his pass protection.
Yep.
So that's obviously an extremely important part of that role as a third down back. I think that is one of the things that keeps guys off the field when they're young until they learn some of the nuances of blitz pickup, and I think that he's exceptional at it.
Let's talk to Paulie in the truck. What's up, Paulie?
Joe, thanks for taking the call, brother. Paul, we got our 2 offensive tackles like we were talking about at Christmas in the City.
Yeah, I remember.
You insisted. I agree with you. Yeah, you started that one off. I talked about it, but they said, no, Paul, not one. We need 2 tackles. And you gave me the look of you right in my eyes like you meant it. And I knew you were right, and I agree with you before we even finished another couple of sentences in our conversation. And when they got that, and I said, the other guy they got to get going in is at the center of the future. And they did. They got another Georgia dog. Great. Sounds good there, but it came at a cost. The silver line, the cloud with the silver lining in the draft was when they had already traded down, and then they were poised to pick, and you could tell because they were going to make the pick, and it was going to be Jaden Noel. Because Nick Casario, who knows Josh McDaniels probably better than McDaniels' own wife does, knew what he was going to do. He got in front of him and picked that kid off from us. I said, oh, no, my heart sank. He wanted him, that kid, from Ohio State, for his young quarterback, like McDaniels was poised to pick him for his. So the Patriots right away traded down. So that was the telltale sign. They were going to take that Iowa State kid, and they would have been loaded at receiver at that point. But Travion Henderson, geez, he does it all. He can even go up, and he can, like you said, he could be a third down back, not just because of his great blocking ability, but because he's a great pass catcher and route runner. He does it all, this kid. He's better than Ramondre Stevenson. He comes around that corner. When he turns a corner, it goes like he's got a great lean. He's got nice extension in his legs.
Thanks, Paulie. Sorry, I had to stop him.
You didn't want to go all through all 11 picks?
I had to stop him. We're up against it. Jeff was telling me in my ear.
Oh.
Hey, Joe.
Pull the plug.
Now Paulie's going to call and be like, Jeff, what the hell?
What are you doing? You put it on you.
To do with that. I love you, Paulie. We just couldn't go through all the picks today. We may do that as we're here until 2:00. Have you met Paulie before, Jeff? Yeah, I know you have.
I have not, no. He invited me to Boston Calling, though, when he called in.
Oh, okay. Well, I know the guy who's running Boston Calling.
Yeah, so it all blends together, and I know you're up against it. But real quick, I don't think that Paulie's math works. The Patriots traded down from 77, and Jalen Noel was taken 79. So they had an opportunity to take him before Houston traded up to get him.
I know we're very sunshine right now.
I don't think that one. I don't think that one's accurate.
Yeah, I agree with you. I know we're very sunshine right now. I got to get off my chest. I like the draft, everybody. I'm actually, there's a lot of grades going around. I'm in on the draft. I just got something I got to talk about, and it's regarding the win total. And I don't know. I feel like we're all getting very happy.
That's great,
right now.
because I want you to I want you to get into that because I'm really interested in it. But the Patriots liked Kyle Williams more than Jalen Noel. But they had an opportunity to take either one of them. They're very similar kinds of speed.
They did a top 30 visit with
They're
him,
speed slot receivers. They took Kyle Williams. I don't think they were going to take them both.
Kyle Williams was like the star of the Shrine Game or whatever.
Yeah. Kyle Williams is good prospect. But I want to get, when we come back, I want to get to that win total stuff.
All right. We'll do that. Here we go. There's Paulie setting it all up. I got to get this one off my chest. I like the draft, and they did very well. I'm tempering my expectations for next year. We'll do that coming up next here on the Sports Hub.
You're listening to Joe Murray on 98.5.
From Peabody?
No, from Everett.
Oh, from Everett.
Please.
Who got Everett?
I want to look up. I think it was a third round.
Because Isaiah Likely was from
Stewart
Everett.
from Michigan, Josiah Stewart. But I want to see. I want to give him his props. Hold on.
Yeah, Isaiah Likely's an Everett guy. Was it Sign? He was an
Lewis
Everett guy.
Seen.
Yeah.
He was another one. Mike Sanders still is a second rounder for Washington. Started as a rookie last year. Had a terrific year. So, this I believe there are 6. Well, counting like practice squad, there could be 6 Everett guys in the league currently. But Josiah Stewart was the one that was most recently drafted. The Rams took him. He's a edge rusher. Played a little at Coastal Carolina, like also with Likely.
Yeah.
And then he transferred the last 2 years he played for Michigan. He was a third-round pick, 90th overall.
Wow.
So, yeah.
Everett football still going strong.
That's going to be about it, though. We're running low.
Maybe Catholic Memorial will start getting, with the new coach from
Right. Well,
Everett.
that's why all these guys all played for John DiBiase.
Yeah. There you go.
I played for John DiBiase
really?
100 years ago in basketball, not football. He wasn't our football coach. Then he cut me.
You got cut?
I got cut.
I've heard
in basketball. I deserved to get cut. I wasn't a very good basketball.
I've heard around the way, Paul. This is Joe Murray's sources that you were a good baseball player.
I was all right.
People you played against, by the way, have told me that. And I'll find a photo, but I have a friend of mine who you played ball against, Everett Medford, and they were the star player at Medford. And
Medford was pretty good. Medford and Malden were really good when I was playing at Everett. Now we won the GBL my senior year, but Medford and Malden probably had more talented teams than we did. Who played for the Medford teams that I played against was Joe Sacco.
Oh, wow.
Joe and Dave Sacco both played. I ended up playing with David a little bit at BU.
I have a photo somewhere of a friend of mine's father and you sliding into third base. And it's Medford versus Everett in a newspaper. And I go, that's Paul Perillo. And
I definitely need to see that.
I'll find it.
Sliding sounds a little bit athletic for me.
Yeah. It's funny. I grew up in we had Parkway. Parkway was like the. I got Adam Banks. I don't know if it's how Mighty Ducks that went down to where you were from, and he had to go play for the Hawks.
Yeah.
I played Parkway growing up, but then got basically Adam Banks to High Park. But we had Mandy Del Carmen, who was a star baseball player at the time. But kids from Everett and Hyde Park would never meet. We would, I don't know, maybe Good Times. We'd all maybe meet at Good Times one day. We used to go there for the UFC fights back in the day.
Yeah, we didn't go. We didn't venture south of the city much. We would go into the city, but not necessarily. Like Marina Bay that was a hike. I mean, we didn't go much further south than that.
Bird, who's one of my good friends, he's from Everett, played Everett football as well. He went to Curry, which is Milton, but it's right next to Hyde Park.
Yeah.
And he's just like, it's so weird over here, man. I'm like, dude, you're 30 minutes away from Everett. Like,
right.
You're 30 minutes away.
But it's a whole different country.
And he even calls it the South Shore. And I'm like, it's not the South Shore.
Well, that's like Everett's not really the North Shore. But people always refer, just because it's north of Boston doesn't mean it's North Shore. We don't really have a beach.
I would say you guys are Everett's more Boston than it is North Shore.
Yeah, that's kind of how I thought of it growing up.
What was your go-to over there for like a sub or de Blasi's? I know is always a big one.
It's amazing that you know it.
Oh, but Paulie,
de Blasi's is the answer.
I could go from here to Springfield if you want me to tell you what to eat. So
3Ds. If you wanted like a cold, like Italian, their cold cuts were the best. 3Ds, right in Everett Square. So that was my go-to for Italians. But if I needed like a steak and cheese or a chicken parm, it would be de Blasi's. Now, de Blasi's was also really close to the high school.
Yeah.
So that was much more convenient.
Oh, yeah. I've definitely
But if you needed a sub shop of some sort, Everett was your place to be. You know, you get some Greek pizza at Kippo's. I'm sure you've been there, too.
Oh, yeah. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Good times, Joe.
Oh, yeah.
His radio's clicking off all over the North Shore right now.
I got people in there. We want more food talk. Someone just said to me they wanted. Don's in Carver. What's up, Don?
Hi, guys. Listen, I had the opportunity to watch Kobe Minor being interviewed through a Zoom type of thing, and I think Mike Reese was one of the people asking him questions, and they all want to concentrate on Mr. Irrelevant, and he wouldn't have any part of it. He was strictly football, all football, and one hell of a kid. And I went and saw his tryouts on video. This kid looks like he can make it. And I was surprised to find out that the only team to make him one of the 30 invitees was the Patriots. No other team took him as one of their 30. And so someone's doing their homework there, man. I love this regime. Thanks, guys.
Mr. Irrelevant.
And you call me sunshine.com.
Thanks, Don.
The 257th pick is going to change the trajectory of the team.
Well, Marty Moore was the one I remember from the 90s.
94. He was Mr. Irrelevant in 94, I believe.
Special teams player. I think he
was. He actually, when he first, I think he started as a rookie.
Wow.
On a playoff team, the 94 team, if I'm not mistaken. And they had another Mr. Irrelevant, I want to say Andy Stokes.
Oh, yeah, he was a tight end.
Who did not make it.
I shouldn't call them bums if they're getting drafted, but still, yeah, they've had a couple of Mr. Irrelevants.
But he was one of those, real underdog stories, like Division III. I think he went to William Penn.
I teased this, and of course I started talking about food and places to eat instead. I'm on the under 8.5, the total still. I know they had a good draft. I like what they did in free agency, but I don't want to come on here today and tell you I like the draft and then say I still think they're going to go under the total, but that's the reality. And I just want to temper some expectations. This team won 4 games last year. Like, they've gone back-to-back years where they've struggled. Things don't turn around that often. I know Washington, it did last year. There was a lot of moving pieces there. I think they're going to be better. I would just temper expectations about winning 8 or 9 games. That's all.
So my caveat would be what you just touched on. It can happen really, really quickly, but when it does happen really quickly for a team, it's generally about the quarterback position. So think Houston a couple of years ago. C.J. Stroud comes in, lights it up, and they go from 4 wins or whatever it was to a playoff team. Same thing with Washington last year. If Drake May plays at that level in year 2, and he's that much better than he was in year 1, they can win 9, 10 games. They can. So I'm not telling you it can't happen. But on the surface, I would agree with you, Joe. 8.5 seems a little bit aggressive to me. That's why I was curious what the number, because I figured it has moved, and it's increased even in the last week. You're telling me?
Yeah, it's minus 140, 8.5. So it's juiced up a little bit. So it was 7.5. It's gone up.
8.5. I mean, if I would say just in general, that number should make Patriots fans optimistic and excited.
Mm-hmm.
People think it's not out of the realm of possibility that this team is a playoff caliber team. They're going to be in the playoff mix. And whether or not you end up doing it, at least no one was talking about that last year. No one rationally, anyway, was talking about that last year. I was on a show on this station. People were talking about it, but no one rational was talking about it. And if you can just put your mind back to where it was at this time last year compared to now, there's so much more excitement. The interaction on our shows this weekend blew away anything we did last year. There's a lot of optimism with the Mike Vrabel regime going forward.
Yeah.
I know you're down on it, but there's a lot of optimism about it, Joe.
I will say this. I can't come on here today and tell you that the offseason's been bad, because it hasn't. Now it's about development and winning football games. And I'm sure when you mentioned the quarterback, they really, really, really went all in on Drake May, and I think that they catered to him, and I think you have to do that in today's game. C.J. Stroud, on the other hand, just real quick, is Houston going to get an offensive line for this guy? And I know the Chiefs got Simmons, which, maybe he'll turn into a player.
They signed... the individual names that you have might not excite you, like Trent Brown. But they signed 2 tackles and drafted one.
Yeah, they got Cam Robinson
and Trent Brown, and they drafted Ursary.
Yep, Ursary. Yep, you're right.
So, I think, I don't know if it's going to work. Just like I don't know if that's going to work any more than I know that Will Campbell's going to work, and Morgan Moses. But they addressed it. You know what I mean? Now we'll see if they addressed it well.
We'll see if the Chiefs do too. I know that. Oh, I got a hot take for you on the Chiefs, by the way. I'll save that for you. We got to take a quick break. I went long. I'm sorry. You're listening to 98.5 The Sports Hub.
More Joe Murray coming up on the Sports Hub.
Tune into the next Celtics broadcast to find out which player really took care of business in the first half, sponsored by Cambridge Savings Bank. With CSB, you get a partner who puts you first so you can focus on what matters most. Visit CambridgeSavings.com or stop by a branch to start your relationship today. Member FDIC.
Hey, it's Lamara from Revision Energy, your local 100% employee-owned solar company in Massachusetts. For over 20 years, Revision Energy has built a reputation as a trusted solar installer, prioritizing people over profit. Start saving with solar and heat pumps now and get 30% of the cost back with a federal tax credit. Visit us at revisionenergy.com to schedule a free site visit or call 978-308-9041. That's 978-308-9041. Visit us at revisionenergy.com.
To perform at the top of your game, you need up-to-the-minute skills. At Northeastern University's DeMoore McKim School of Business, we're not just keeping pace with the future, we're defining it. You'll gain business strategy expertise leveraging AI, data, and technology. Through transformative experiences, you'll prepare to lead with impact. Learn more at our weekly admissions events. Save your spot at northeastern.edu/business events.
Mass General Brigham Health Plan is integrated with one of the nation's leading health systems, offering health insurance with comprehensive benefits and a broad network of doctors and hospitals. With Mass General Brigham Health Plan, you'll find unique options for families, businesses, and retirees. You deserve coverage as advanced as your care. Call your broker or visit massgeneralbrighamhealthplan.org.
Get ready, New England. The first ever Beercella Festival is coming to the Great American Beer Hall in Medford on Saturday, June 14th, with over 30 top regional brewers like Schilling, Widowmaker, Foam, and more, plus live bands, DJs, and nonstop entertainment. Choose Session 1, 11 a.m. to 5 p.m. with bands like Charing Cross and DJ sets in the Beer Garden, or go big with Session 2 from 6 p.m. to 1 a.m. featuring DJ Incognito and the band Gymkata. Fuel up with food trucks and eats from the Lantern all day and night. Tickets on sale now at Eventbrite. Don't miss Beercella just outside Boston at the Great American Beer Hall. More info at gabhall.com.
I'm attorney John Heyman. While you're out enjoying the springtime weather, be aware that motorcyclists are joining you on the road. Please keep your eyes open for those of us on two wheels, and let's keep the road safe for everyone. Thanks from those of us in the New England motorcycle community. If you go down, we'll pick you up. I'm John Heyman, and that's my promise. Call 1-800-HEYMAN or go to heymanlaw.com.
Mike Rowe here with a name every homeowner should know, Groundworks. Now, I've spent time with these guys, and I'll tell you, they handle basement waterproofing and foundation repair like no one else. They're certified experts that are committed to making your experience great. You want to protect your home? The name to know is Groundworks. Busy Dog Basement Technologies and Rescon Basement Solutions are now Groundworks. Go to groundworks.com to schedule a free inspection.
Licensed in all states where work is performed. See website for details.
This is Dale for Northeast Men's Health, where we've successfully treated thousands of men for low testosterone and helped them feel like their old selves again. Please take a moment and listen to how we help Marty.
I was a really grumpy guy. I was sleeping like garbage, and getting older, the energy level was just in the toilet, and that was what led to me going in. I've been treated at Northeast Men's Health for low testosterone coming on about 2 years now. Within a few weeks, I started noticing I was sleeping a little bit better. I definitely noticed a higher energy level, but the old man crankiness just went away. I'm able to stay really well organized. Nothing slips through the cracks. Having the tea treatment is leading me to keep on top of my game. What I would say to any other guy that is in the same situation where they feel like they're dragging, just call Northeast Men's Health. You won't regret it.
Thanks, Marty. It's true. Low T therapy can dramatically change your life. Your initial appointment is only $99 with results in minutes. And if you start on testosterone the day of your appointment, your visit is free. Call today, 617-793-5000, or go to northeastmenshealth.com.
Wendy's has this new bold Cajun Crunch chicken sandwich, and I'm kind of crushing hard on this Sammy. I hope it likes me back. For a sandwich you'll love, gotta be Wendy's. Open till midnight or later.
Limited time only at participating U.S. Wendy's. Hours may vary by location.
This hour of Sports Hub brought to you by Valvoline Instant Oil Change. Enjoy quick and convenient vehicle maintenance this month. Visit NewEnglandOilChange.com for 15% off your next drive-through oil change at Valvoline Instant Oil Change, the official oil change of busy people.
Tougher Tire Studios. The 18-time world champion Boston Celtics are looking for number 19.
Tatum pull it up.
Hear every playoff game right here. Your home for Boston Celtics basketball. WBZ FM and HD1 Boston 98.5. The Sports Hub. Beasley Media Group station.
Sports Hub headlines. Presented by Celsius Energy Drinks.
All right, Patriots in their draft. Well, it is complete. Yesterday they took a long snapper and a kicker. And, well, they're just loading up when it comes to positions in the draft. And the Celtics are in action tonight. Pre-game, 6:30 tip-off sometime after 7 p.m. No Drew Holiday in this one. Again, tip-off sometime after 7 p.m. Red Sox put a doubleheader yesterday with Cleveland and the Revs. They got a win yesterday. Carlos Heel with the goal. Headlines are brought to you by Safety Insurance, providing comprehensive coverage for your auto, home, and business. Ask your independent agent about safety. I'm Joe Murray.
To us, Boston pride runs deep.
I'm a Bostonian!
This is Boston's home for sports.
Bow, bow, bow!
98.5, the Sports Hub.
Around here, we call them the Joe Murray pre-party. It's Felger and Maz afternoons right now. Joe Murray on the Sports Hub.
Shall I say less than conventional for men?
Are you just
I like a lot of the dance stuff and the disco from like the late 70s, 80s.
Nothing wrong with that at all.
But I also feel like as being in quasi in the sports media, I like to be aware of what's going on and what people are talking about and some of the sound. I don't ingest all the sounds like I used to. So sometimes you can listen to a show and it kind of catches you up on like the Bruins. You were talking about the Bruins press conference this week. I didn't hear all the press conference stuff live, but I heard all the clips that were getting played on these shows all the time. So I feel like I was up to speed, So I listened to a lot of that, and I listen, like I said, I'll listen to like a lot of the 70s stuff on Sirius, 70s and 80s.
There you go.
I listen to a lot of it on the weekends because they play the old, the top 40s, the reruns of like on this week in 1977.
I love that stuff.
I'm here for it.
I love all that
My
stuff.
kids torture me over it all the time.
Well, you know what? Your kids, I don't know if they listen as good music as you do.
They'll be going to Kendrick Lamar in a couple of weeks.
But yes.
I'll be listening to Donna Summer.
Well, local gal, too. Kendrick Lamar and SZA, I believe, are playing at
Correct.
Gillette. Bing, bop, boom, 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 bop, bam. I love the halftime show. I was all about it. But I know what I do is I like to listen to national stuff and then localize it. Like when the Ovechkin stuff was going on, I was like, could this ever be Pasternak? Like that kind of thing. And it could be. Now, he'd have to play until he was 40, which then opened up another discussion of, is the new athlete, now, does the new athlete play into their 40s? And I think we're starting to see that now. I know Ovechkin's a great, but Horford's still in his 40s, still playing at a higher level. LeBron, I know he's one of the greatest of all time.
But your point being that there's so much more attention paid to career longevity. And there's two sides of the coin. I think that people obviously are taking better care of themselves and they have more invested in nutrition and training and all that. So it's allowing 40-year-olds to extend their careers. But the flip side of that is, do you think that will continue to happen given the astronomical money that these guys make? Maybe the need to do that isn't as great. So I think it all depends on the individual. Guys like Brady and LeBron are sort of maniacal about their competitive levels and they want to continue to play. And, maybe some other guys are like, well, I made a lot of money and I don't want to do it anymore. I could see both sides of that.
By the way, I wanted to shout out the Patriots social team. They killed it this week. Whether it was showing the Campbell jersey being made or the calls that, Elliott Wolf or Vrabel or even Mr. Kraft were on, I thought they did a really good job.
I always love the calls. Matt Smith is a guy that I work closely with, at Kraft Sports and Entertainment, and we've been doing those for over 20 years. I love the behind. Now, I'm not going to lie. More often than not, they're generic stuff. You hear, the coach talking to the player. Maybe Mr. Kraft gets on and Robert talks to, introduces himself to the player, and they go back and forth with some, nothing too biting. But I love the behind the scenes stuff that we get, and Matt's been doing it for a long time, doing a really good job with it.
Oh yeah, and then the story of, from Pete Thamel that, Mike Vrabel brought his pad with him with Will Campbell, and he dropped him on his derriere. It's just such a big story where I know it's very easy for a radio host to be like, hey, Will Campbell dropped a 49-year-old guy. All right, so get going with this. I think the story tomorrow here from all the shows, because I'm one of those shows, is going to be they missed on this guy but took this guy. Or they should have taken this guy and this guy. So, for example, we talked about Travion Henderson. I feel that you're going to hear that they missed out on Luther Burden. And instead, I know that you were talking about the wide receiver from Washington State.
Kyle Williams,
who they identified. They brought in on a top 30 visit, was one of the top guys, at one of the bowl games as well. But, that was their guy. I know that Higgins was somebody that was on their list and they were identified with, but I'm fine with the Henderson move. They needed a running back and they needed somebody that could play right away. Where when I look at the wide receiver room, I kind of like Williams where they slotted him because I think he is an inside guy that can play slot. I know they already have Pop Douglas there, but I don't know. What do you think? Do you think he could be an outside guy or is he strictly going to be an inside slot guy?
No, I think he has some versatility, but I picture him as a slot, but he's not like the traditional Patriots, small, shifty guy, in between the numbers, slot guy, averaging 9 yards a catch. He's a big play slot guy. He can get down the field. I think of him more as a speed slot. And I think that Luther Burden is like that a little bit, and I think Jalen Knoll is like that. Those three guys. Now, Jaden Higgins, who's also from Iowa State, like Knoll, he's more of an outside guy, different kind of receiver. So I would say if you're going to compare the guys and you want to second guess, Luther Burden is a second guess. They had a chance to take him, and they took Henderson instead. And they ended up with a guy like Burden. Now, I think those three guys, Williams, Burden, and Knoll, I think Burden is the most talented. But I think there are also some, I don't know how significant, but there are some red flags about his off-field, his motor, his commitment to the team. I don't think he had a very good year last year at Missouri. He was much better 2 years ago. But I think he's
Brady
the most.
Cook was the issue on that.
He's the most talented of those three guys, Luther Burden, and I would have been all in if they had taken him. If you're going to ask me, do you want Henderson and Williams or Burden and somebody else? I need to know who the somebody else is first. Because I love the fact that they got two playmakers there with Henderson and Williams.
Totally agree with you. The second guessing tomorrow will be fantastic. Richard's in Wellesley. What's up, Richard?
That was a good lead-in because the position group I'm most worried about is wide receiver for the team, and I'm wondering how you guys think it'll start the year and how it'll shake out and at the end of the year if the same four guys are going to be, starting the year that end the year and whatnot. So I want to hear your thoughts on the wide receivers.
Yeah, it's a good question, and a lot of it will depend on the health of Stephon Diggs. But he's right. Was it Richard?
Yep, Richard.
Yeah, Richard's right because they still have. I mentioned that they had a lot of holes coming into the offseason, and they've done a good job of addressing a lot of them. That's one that, in my opinion, they haven't addressed, the number one receiver. But they've added good talent to the room, with Diggs and Williams. I think at this stage of Stephon Diggs' career, he's probably more of a 2. And I think high end for Kyle Williams, he's a 2. So there's still room for growth. But I would put those two guys with Demario Douglas. And I think that's probably what you're going to start the season with as the guys on the field. Mac Hollins will have a role. I think he'll be a 4-down player, as Bill Belichick used to say, and draw the ire of people like me. But I think Mac Hollins is a good, solid, veteran, complementary piece who can contribute in some different ways. Beyond that, this is back to the Joe Murray theory that we started off with, right, Joe, with the competition. Is it Kendrick Bourne? Is it Kayshon Boutte? Is it Jalen Polk? Is it Javon Baker? I don't know. Who plays the best? Who earns playing time? Who earns a roster spot? Who deserves to be here? I like that idea. I don't like the idea of just saying, well, you're anointed. You were a second-round pick, Jalen Polk, so we're going to start you. No. Are you good enough to start? Have you shown some maturity from your tough rookie season? Or are you still talking about having the best hands in football? If you show the maturity and you show some growth, both physically and emotionally, pencil them in. Put them in there. But let the competition unfold and then see who wins it.
If I can be critical, I don't know if Stephon Diggs will be ready to go week 1.
I don't either. That's why I said so much of it relies on when he's ready.
Will Kendrick Bourne know the offense? This is the Josh McDaniels offense, and he's had trouble doing that over his career.
Although he did have his best year in the Josh McDaniels offense.
True, very true.
800 yards in 21.
Can Pop Douglas stay healthy? He's going to be the slot guy every play. Can he stay? Mac Hollins, I like as a 4th receiver, but to the competition point, is it better to have one of these younger guys? I think Mac Hollins is here and had his best year with McDaniels as well. And was it the Raiders? Yeah, with the Raiders.
I believe so, yeah.
Polk.
But there's a reason he's been on 5 teams in 5 years. You're right.
He's a journeyman 4 receiver.
Yep.
Polk, I just like having around because of his size. The Williams kid I like a lot. Boutte is another guy that I still think at least has. What has he done not to earn a spot?
Yeah, and that's why it was odd to me that he was included in that Adam Schefter piece early last week of a young guy that could be available around the league. So obviously that comes from the Patriots, right? I mean, Adam Schefter's not just throwing a random guy out there. That's what he's hearing. Either from other teams telling you that they've been trying to get Kayshon Boutte and think that he can be had, or the Patriots letting people know that he could be available. So I look at him the same way you do, Joe. He basically did absolutely nothing as a rookie. He was a 6th-round pick, so he's a flyer coming in. We know that he had some talent at LSU, and some things caused him, some off-field issues caused him to drop in the draft. But he didn't allow that to define him, and I thought that he really worked hard. I didn't think he was a lock to even make the team last year, and he probably emerged as their best receiver last year. So why can't he go from a good year 1 to year 2 jump to another jump from year 2 to year 3? I would give him an opportunity to do that, because I don't think he has a huge amount of value on the market. I don't think you're going to get, like a day 2 pick for him. You're probably looking at a pick swap on day 3 again, like you did for Joe Milton.
I'd keep him.
I'd keep him too.
I think he can play. I think he's developed, and whether you want him, they don't really have an X. I mean, Diggs is Z. They have a couple of slot guys. I don't know. I like Boutte. Steve's in Fall River. What's up, Steve?
How are you?
Good.
What's up, Steve? Long time.
I know, buddy. Here's something that I'm going to tell you about this Will Campbell pick. I defined 2 words to come up with it: lazy and stupid. Lazy because they just said, we're going to take Will Campbell. We haven't needed offensive tackle. Will Campbell says he's the best. Everybody says Will Campbell's the best offensive tackle. Let's just take him. We just solved the problem. Joe and I could have did that. That's not dynamic enough because, one, we don't know if he can play there, which is true about every pick. But you can get performing tackles later in the draft. They don't warrant before picking the draft. You can get. Who thinks this guy is going to be the best tackle in this draft? Guaranteed he's not the best tackle in this draft, that somebody further down the line is going to be a better tackle than he is.
I would say this, Steve, and this is part of, like, Joe asked me,
I have the stupid equation to go over, which is
you could get to the stupid thing in a second. Joe asked me if there was something about the draft that I didn't like, and the fact that they had to take a tackle at 4 was what I didn't like. So I'm kind of feeding into your line of thought here. A lot of people think Josh Simmons will be the best tackle in this draft. And because of his injury heading into the draft, the Patriots couldn't take him because they need to fill that immediately. They need a guy they know is going to be ready to play in week 1. And that, to me, is that's what I didn't like about the draft, is they kind of painted themselves into a corner and had to take Will Campbell. Not that I don't think Will Campbell can play.
When I've made this argument, people have said I'm diminishing the importance of left tackle. I'm not. The point of the matter is you can get this quality of player later in the draft, not number 4. This guy, Jordan Mailata, whatever his name is, for the world champions, is 7th round draft pick. And I'm not saying, well, Tom Brady was a 6th round draft pick. No.
Yeah, but that kind of is, though.
No.
There's not tackles. There aren't a lot of tackles the caliber of Jordan Mailata that are taken in the 7th round.
I'm not saying there are, but there are routinely tackles taken 30 to 100 that play.
Okay,
that can do
that's
the same job as this
round.
guy. Right. Okay. I can't help it that that's what happened this year. That's where this guy is. But here's the deal: they had this 4th pick. They already said they telegraphed they were taking Campbell. They claimed they didn't have any the lazy part. They telegraphed they were taking this guy. Mike Vrabel likes the way he talks. He says all the right things, which means nothing for blocking, by the way. But anyway, they take. They don't have anybody realize they're not going to take him, so they didn't gin up interest. If they had other guys, if they weren't telegraphed that they were going to take this guy, they may have had some draft interest or trade interest. So the problem is that if they could have made a trade, they could have moved down in the 1st round and then presumably gotten a 2nd round pick, and they could have taken a more impactful. Not that the left tackle is not impactful, right, but an edge rusher, a number 1 wide receiver.
Steve, I think that was probably what they wanted to do. I think that if you ask them what their goal was heading in, perfect scenario.
So why did they telegraph that they were going to take this guy and everybody knew it solid, dead on 3 days ahead of time?
I don't think there was a trade partner. I mean, I think it's pretty simple. There was nobody there was 2 guys, in my opinion, worth moving up for. And one of them got moved up for. Yeah. And Travis Hunter. And Abdul Carter was the other one. And obviously the Giants weren't willing to move down. They wanted to take him. Those were the 2 guys, in my view, that were worth moving up to get. I don't think Ashton Genty or Tyler Warren, I think people said, well, if he's there, we'll take him. But I don't think there were any takers on moving up to get the number 4 pick.
Again, I know you work for the team, so I'm going to ask you this question, and then we'll go to break. Do you think that winning that final game at the end of the year hurt them in this draft, and do you think that it was calculated from Gerard Mayo's staff?
You've done this to me before. Did it ultimately hurt them going from 1 to 4? Yes. And in full disclosure, so Mike Dussault, Evan Lazar, and myself, we, along with the illustrious Fred Kirsch, we do Patriots Unfiltered during the week on Patriots.com. Evan was beside himself with the win. Mike and I were like, it's not that big a deal. It's not really a quarterback draft. There's nothing, I don't think you're going to get a king's ransom for one. Evan was right. Mike and I were wrong. So I don't know what they could have gotten. But Cleveland got a good amount from Jacksonville just to go from 5 to 2. I got to think someone would have been looking to do something. If the Patriots were 1, and now you can even throw Cam Ward into the mix for someone, they probably could have gotten something for whether it be Hunter, Carter, or Ward. Now you have 3 guys that potentially could be the apple of someone's eye to move up. You absolutely could have gotten picks. Now, the second part of it, I'm not even willing to entertain. You're telling me that the Patriots playing the personnel that they played in that last game didn't necessarily, quote unquote, do whatever they could to lose the game? Like, short of like falling down and intentionally not getting first downs and, intentionally, dropping the ball, I don't know what they could have. They had to try to win the game with people that were on the field. Joe Milton didn't play a snap all year and played all but 3 snaps in that game. They won. The other team was trying to do the same thing.
I know. I think the Bills were also trying not to let the Patriots get the first.
You very well could be right.
Yeah.
But I just don't know exactly. I mean, I've heard people, I've actually talked to Chris about this, Chris Gasper, who I love. And Chris was like, they could have passed up field goals and gone for 4th down. I'm like, but now you're talking about openly mocking the game. Like, I always say I have no problem with tanking. But tanking to me doesn't mean an effort. Tanking is putting the personnel on the field that gives you the least amount of chance to win.
Yep.
I think they did that. They had a cornerback that was playing the whole second half in that game and shutting guys down off the practice squad. His guy's name is Miles Battle.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Joe, I've been at the Patriots for 26 seasons. I could tell you who a practice squad guy was in 2002. I had no idea this guy was a Patriot. They said his name, and I was like, is he on Buffalo or is he on the Patriots? I didn't know who he was.
Yep.
And he was shutting guys down.
I know. Listen, this is one we'll talk about for years, but it's hard for me as a radio guy.
I know, it sells. It's a better story that Gerard Mayo stuck it to them on the way. He knew he was out, and he stuck it to him on the way out.
It was the fact that I was on post-game immediately after the game, and he got fired within 45 minutes.
Oh, I know. I was on a post-game show, too.
But it was very smelly.
Didn't pass the sniff test?
Did not. We got to go to break. He's Paul Perillo. It was very suspect. All right, we got to go to break here on 98.5 The Sports Hub.
Don't go anywhere. There's more Joe Murray.
the Celtics, punctuated by 21 turnovers. They invited the Magic to get back in the series, and now they have. The final score in Game 3, Orlando 95, Boston 93.
There. You just heard the end of game of the Celtics. So I am not the talk this week for the Celtics, Paul, has been the soft, the Jason Tatum soft, and the coach saying get up and blah, blah, blah. And it's funny because they lost, and then after the game, Jason Tatum goes, well, I'm just going to do what Joe says. I'm going to get up. And, they between Brown and Tatum the other night, they had 13 turnovers combined. People are going to think this is an excuse when I say this, but Jaylen Brown hurt his left index finger, fractured it, turned the ball over because he can't dribble. And then Jason Tatum has literally 2 bad wrists. So, the fact that the 2-star players turn the ball over a ton, it's not surprising to me. It was the most turnovers they had. It was the most points off turnovers that they had this year. They've now lost 5 straight in Orlando, which I don't understand. It was one of the worst performances of the year. But here's where I think they lost the game. Porzingis had such a mismatch. He couldn't deliver. He was bad. Peyton Pritchard did nothing off the bench and couldn't even handle the ball. And then third, I thought Joe Mazzulla late in the game. No Jaylen Brown late in the game. And then
I think he let him rot at the scorer's table too long. He should have called a timeout.
That was one. Game. And then the final play of the game, I get it. Down 2 on the road, right? I go for the win. That's just me. And he went to Porzingis. They missed it. But Jason Tatum's wide open. There was a couple of things I didn't like on Mazzulla, some mismatches too. But overall, I'm not going to blame Tatum and Brown. I'm not doing the Brown versus Tatum thing. I'm not doing the soft. I'm not doing any of that. I know they were without Holiday. But I think Porzingis, Pritchard, they need to be better, and that's why they lost.
Yeah, I'm not – it was a bad performance, and I'm not as worried about the game as I am health. I don't think the whole Tatum thing, there's something going on with the get-up and the reaction. He bruised his hand. He bruised his wrist. He scored 36 points the other night. It clearly wasn't an injury that he needed to miss a game with, if you ask me. I don't know why he missed the game. I don't know if he's mad that the coach told him to get up. I don't know if they're mad at the officials for the way that they've allowed Orlando to play. I don't know what it is. This is sometimes, Joe, when covering the Patriots are there all the time, you kind of expected to know these things. Sometimes it's more refreshing to be on the outside. And I'm not in the locker room. I don't cover the Celtics. I'm just watching like a fan, just like everybody else. He didn't look like a guy who was hindered physically the other night to me. I thought he played great. Now, he didn't finish great, but I thought for the most part he was Tatum, right?
Consistent.
Pretty efficient in scoring 36 points, 12 for 12 from the line, something like that. You said it, 22 turnovers. That's not the way the Celtics have played all year. I don't expect that. I mean, they had 10 more turnovers than they average. That's not going to be a problem. I do worry about if he is hurt. I do worry about if Jaylen Brown's knee is going to bother him. The finger I'm less bothered by. Drew Holiday, strained hamstring. That's a good move, not playing him the other night. Mm-hmm. You don't want a strain to turn into something more significant. If he has to miss time, I think that they're the best team in basketball if they're whole. If they're missing a piece or two, there's other teams I think that are close enough to give them problems. Probably more in the West than the East. I think they could get out of the East at less than 100%, but I'm not sure they could get by OKC at less than 100%. So that's the one concern I would have going forward is that they're not 100%.
I'm starting to wonder if Porzingis should be on the floor late in games defensively. I know, and that's why you have Horford, right? Because he can be that guy. Franz Wagner put him in the barbecue chicken. He cooked him a couple of times there. I thought the late game management was horrible. I thought it was bad. That's on Mazzulla. But what I can't do now, you just mentioned the whole why didn't Tatum play? Was it a Mazzulla thing?
And I don't have the answer to that. So you could tell me just take it at face value, Paul. That's all it was.
Yeah.
And you might be right. I have no idea. I think it's strange that he played as well as he played after missing one game with a bruise.
I think Missoula saying get up wasn't a good look.
No.
Because, hey, we've all hurt our wrist before. It hurts. Now, granted, just so you know, this was made clear to me this week from Noah Dalzell, who covers the team. It's his opposite wrist. This wasn't the one that he's had the cortisone shot and that he needs surgery on. And he's been fine. He hasn't had surgery yet, and he's been pretty fine, right? He hurt the other wrist. But the whole get up, is that like a Joe Mazzulla stop, I don't want to use the word tough because
I don't know if
Jason
it was
Tatum's
about
tough.
Tatum or sort of the message that Missoula is trying to embody.
Yes.
Don't let them see a weakness. Maybe it was something like that. Maybe it had nothing to do with specifically Tatum, because I like Tatum. To me is a weird player because he's kind of a dichotomy. He plays every game, Joe. That's why I don't think that he missed a game because of a bruised wrist. Mm-hmm. This guy plays every game. He feels like it's important to play all these games in the regular season. I can't imagine he missed a playoff game because of a bruised wrist. But he didn't play. So I think that's telling you, the fact that you're able to post all the time tells me that you're a pretty tough guy. But I do wonder if they want him to be sort of tougher with his mentality. Going inside, getting to the line. He goes to the line 12 times the other night.
Yep.
That's playoff basketball. And you want to go to the line against a team like this that wants to play physical. They're a good defensive team. Orlando doesn't have enough scoring.
Mm-hmm.
That's why they're a middling 500 team. They had injuries all year. Boncaro missed a lot of time. Suggs has been out the whole year, right? Jalen Suggs hasn't played hardly at all. That's why they're a 41-41 team. They don't have enough scoring. But they can play defense and they can play physical. And I think the physicality has maybe not gotten in the Celtics' head, but it's been on their minds. And I hope that, I didn't like the Jaylen Brown quote the other night about, we're going to have to fight to see who gets out. No, you're better.
Yep.
Just play your game, and they can't compete with that. Don't play their game, because now you're mucking the game up and you're giving them a chance. It's like, Joe, you're not that much younger than me. You remember the mid-'80s when the Celtics and Lakers would play. Mm-hmm. The Celtics were much more talented than this Orlando team is, but the Lakers probably had more talent in '84.
Yep.
The Celtics beat them because they were tougher. Mm-hmm. And I would worry. Now, the talent gap is too great for Orlando. I don't see any way Orlando can win this series. I don't. Matter of fact, I don't really see it going longer than 5 games. I think the Celtics will win tonight and then close it out in Game 5 at home because the talent gap is just too big. But you start worrying about we got to fight back and we got to match the physicality. That's not how you play. That's not your strength. Your strength is numbers. Your strength is having 5 guys that are better than the 5 guys on the other team at all times. Use that strength to your advantage. Taking 27 threes the other night, as much as I don't love watching the threes, that's a big drop.
I was going to say that. For all the people who don't like the three-point shot, well, when they haven't been shooting the threes, it's hurt them.
You played a totally different game, though. You didn't as much as I don't like taking 60 threes, going from 60 to 27 is not the solution.
Yep. I think he's working the refs, and they don't need to. They're too good. They don't need to do that. I agree with you on that. But having 5 fouls in the game and he right at the 4-minute mark, I think he's working the refs because I don't think Missoula is. And I know we've seen it in the past, right? Doc Rivers would do it. A lot of these guys around the league, they do it. It is a thing. It's that league.
Oh, it's that league. You hear the Thibodeau the other night? Exactly. After the Game 2 loss, that they all do it, especially at this time of year.
But Missoula's not doing it
because he wants to. That doesn't matter.
Hmm?
We're tougher than that. That's Missoula's strength. That's what he tries to embody.
I think at times there is I think they need Missoula as their coach to help them stay motivated during the regular season. But I do think at times like this, like the Celtics did beat themselves the other night. They had a 10-point lead at half. They and for all they
scored 11 points in the third quarter.
In the third quarter. I know. I get you.
Sometimes you just have a terrible night.
And
they lost the game by 2 points.
And I wanted to credit them because they've dominated the third quarters go in the last 2 games because game 1.
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
They dominated. So I wanted to give Missoula credit for doing that. But the other night, that was horrible. It was terrible. But I think Pritchard and the bench was a bad problem in the last game. He's outscored them himself in the first 2 games.
Pritchard was really good in the first 2 games. He was not good in this one. They've got nothing else, though. Hauser has been a non-factor in all 3 games.
They need a ball handler. And leaving it to Tatum and Brown. The old problem snuck up the other night. Those turnovers that they had before they won the championship, it peeked its head out. The loss of Drew Holiday is glaring.
Yeah,
I think they take care of business today, but I do think that the Magic are a bunch of bums. Like, besides Wagner and Banchero, no one else can score on that team.
No, and if, all the talk about Caldwell Pope has been about, the hard fouls. What's killing them is he's not giving them any offense at all. He's giving them nothing on the floor, and they need somebody desperately to give them something. Cole Anthony or KCP. Like, they need some. I mean, they've gotten 3 good games from both of their stars, and they're just fighting and clawing just to be in the series. What's going to happen when one of those guys doesn't have it? They're going to get blown out.
Yep.
We might see that tonight.
I think we do see it tonight.
Because I don't see them being able to maintain this level of efficiency. Both Wagner and Banchero have been pretty efficient in scoring 30 points every game.
I just don't want the bench. This is what I hate, is when you go on the road and then all of a sudden your bench and your play, they just, So Pritchard's they're already there talking to him today. And I will say this about Porzingis.
He'll be better.
He always bounces back. The team in general, 33-6 after a loss this year. So we'll get it on the Celtics too if you want. I think they'll be better, but this Missoula thing with the team though, yeah, there's something there. I don't know. Just don't like it. The whole get up thing, the mentality. Yeah, just don't like where they're at this point. I see you guys lined up on the phone lines. We'll get to you. Paul Perillo's here as well. He's from Patriots.com. I'm Joe Murray. You're listening to 98.5 The Sports Hub.
You're listening to Joe Murray on 98.5.
All right, back here at 98.5 The Sports Hub. Paul Perillo's here on a Sunday. After all his draft work this week, is here today with me.
Couldn't pass up spending time with you, Joe.
Well, I appreciate that. I have been I have the Vegas Blues. This is the third time I've gone to Vegas. First time I went, I came home and got mono. That was great, let me tell you. And I did the whole, my first one at 21, I did the the spearmint rhino and all that kind of stuff, Stayed up for 3 days straight, that whole thing. Second time I went was just fun. This time was WrestleMania. But Vegas always wins. Not even at the blackjack table or anything like that. It just takes your soul. I was there for 6 days, 5 nights. It's too many. It's a 3-day max, and now I'm feeling it. And my moneymaker, my voice today is...
my moneymaker.
Yeah. You should drop that one with the guys. This is my moneymaker.
It's my moneymaker.
Yeah, I got the Vegas Blues today. We are rolling on something that we'll play at the top of the hour regarding Bill Belichick on CBS this morning. You're a good friend, Paul Perillo. Your old colleague. Were you guys colleagues?
I don't think we were colleagues. I certainly don't think we were good friends.
No, well,
he tolerated me. Let's put it that way.
All right. I'm sure he. One thing about Bill, doesn't he remember everybody's name?
Oh yeah. Well, I don't know about everybody, but he remembered for whatever reason he remembered mine.
There you go.
I don't know if it was a good thing.
Well, he did an interview with CBS this morning that we have to play, so we'll do that at the top of the hour. We'll take a couple of calls here. We got Nate. He's in the truck. What's up, Nate?
Hey, good morning, guys. Out of this whole thing, Paul, if you look at it, is Robert Kraft being an incompetent owner. He should have got rid of Mayo, because that's who I blame. And if he would have got rid of Mayo the week before, they would have had the number 1 overall pick. They would have had the Giants move up to number 1 because you got a head coach that's desperate for a quarterback. They would have got their second this year, their first next year. They would have got Abdul Carter. They would have got their offensive tackle in the second round and their running back and their receiver, and would have set this franchise up for years to come. The one to blame out of all this, out of that decision to hire Mayo and not to fire him the week before, is Robert Kraft, and I blame him.
Yeah, I mean, I think that's taking it too far. I think that at number 1, all the stuff that he just said was in play. I think they could have gotten that kind of an offer. And I think I mentioned in the last segment, now you have 3 different things that are attractive to teams that are potentially looking to move up. So I think he might be right about that. I can't, I'm sorry that I can't get on board with, we need to crucify Gerard Mayo for winning a game. And we need to kill Robert Kraft for not firing his coach that he handpicked. He made a mistake. He identified a guy who ended up not being able to do the job, right? So he deserves criticism for that. But now we're going to kill him for not getting rid of him a week earlier? I'm sorry I can't get on board with the criticism of Mayo specifically for winning the game and Kraft for not firing him before that game. I can't do that.
I think Mayo should have, in his brain, said to lose the game. But there are guys that are competing out there, and Joe Milton got a shot, and he played very well in his time. And, yeah, it cost him. I was thinking that.
Did you watch
night.
much training camp, Joe?
Oh, yeah, I went down there.
Did you watch the preseason games?
Yes.
If I had told you, based on what you saw, both on the practice field at training camp the few days that you were there, I know we talked a couple times when you were down there, and more specifically, the wretched performance that he put forward in the preseason games, would you have envisioned him doing what he did against Buffalo in that last game?
No.
He was like 11 for 30 in the preseason.
No, he was. Listen.
I think one of the games he was like 3 for 14.
Joe Milton, they were doing these drills when everybody else was working where he was trying to throw that, that pass to the
net? The net with the little targets in it?
But he just couldn't.
Listen, physically,
he couldn't throw short.
Physically, I've been at, I think it's 26 training camps. This will be my 27th. I've never seen a guy anywhere near the physical ability that he has to play that position. Size, strength, mobility, arm strength. No one comes close. But there's so much more that goes into being a quarterback than just those physical traits. He didn't show any of them on the practice field or on the preseason field. And then he went out, to his credit, after sitting around for 17 weeks and really doing nothing more than scout team quarterback in practice, he played great. I give the kid all the credit in the world. He was ready. He knew he was going to get an opportunity. He was ready for it, and he played really well. Give him credit for that, but I don't think that's sustainable. I don't think that's who he is. I think it was a one-off.
I also don't think the trade of Joe Milton was a football move.
Oh, I think it had something to do with, off field. I think he thought that he was going to be starting or had an opportunity to start, and I don't think that they felt like he was going to be in a true competition, and they thought he could be disruptive. I'm on board with that kind of thought. I think a lot of people feel that way. I think Mike Reese wanted to clear the decks for Drake May in the quarterback room. I think there's some validity to that.
I just think, I know we got to go to break. I just think there was a lot of you can shoo me on this one. I think Robert Kraft was doing a lot of I'm trying to find the right word. Greasing elbows. How about that? Bill Parcells gets into the Patriots Hall of Fame, and his buddy Jerry Jones gets Joe Milton.
Oh, I'll shush you on that one. Yeah, no, I had nothing to do with where he went.
Just, this is what we do at night. We look for topics that might, that you would disagree with, and then I'll just say them, and then you can shush me.
Those are my favorites.
Yes, but no, I do think that Joe Milton was not a football move, but that's fine. We can agree to disagree, but Robert Kraft has been doing a lot of he wants to get into the Hall of Fame. And I think two moves were, one at least was Bill Parcells going into the Hall of Fame, and maybe he threw a bone to his buddy Jerry.
So how does Jerry Jones getting let's play it out for a second. How does doing Jerry Jones a favor get Robert Kraft in the Hall of Fame?
Maybe he'll
You think Jerry Jones is well liked or sort of polarizing?
Oh, he's very polarizing.
So how does that help him?
Maybe he'll pitch for him. Maybe he'll say, that Robert Kraft, he should go to the Hall of Fame.
Yeah, I think based on the story that came out last year.
Yeah, I know.
I think there should be less of that.
That's what I'm saying. I think that maybe he was...
What do you think? People are dumb? If all of a sudden Jerry Jones starts pitching people on Robert Kraft's candidacy?
Gave him Joe Milton. That's where I'm going with it.
Yeah, no. That one I can't get on board with. Joe, I love, I told you off air.
It's a good conspiracy
I love
theory.
the Joe Murray cul-de-sac. I love being part of it. I really enjoy some of your theories. And what I really like is, and this is dead serious, Joe, I love people that look at things differently. I think it's very easy to just sit there and say, well, everybody says X. Oh, I agree with X. Everybody's saying it. I like people that sort of step back and look at things and they say, well, X might be true, but, Y and Z could be true as well. I like that. You do that. That's why I like the Joe Murray cul-de-sac.
But this one...
I don't always agree with you.
That's
fine.
fine.
In fact, I rarely do.
This is why but this is the job, isn't it?
Yes.
If I'm doing this and you don't agree with me, this is why I'm here.
Right.
This is what we do.
Right. I don't think that the Joe Milton trade to Dallas specifically had anything to do with anything other than getting Joe Milton somewhere else.
All right. We've established that. I've been shushed.
Shush.
Shoo. All right, Bill Belichick. We can't shoo him away. We can't get away from him. He did an interview this morning with CBS, and it's a doozy. We'll have the audio for you coming up next here on 98.5 The Sports Hub.
More Joe Murray coming up on the Sports Hub.
Hi, this is Jeff Kaplan from Innuendo. The sun's up earlier and is ready to ruin your expensive flooring and furniture. It's time for automated window and skylight shades from Hunter Douglas. Schedule a visit from our expert team before it's too late. Innuendo in Natick, locally owned for over 35 years. Innuendo.com.
Spring is in the air, and it's time to knock it out of the park with FindMassMoney.gov. Step up to the plate and see what unclaimed cash could be waiting for you. Here in Massachusetts, 1 in 10 people have unclaimed property from things like uncashed paychecks, refunds from overpaid bills, or forgotten savings accounts. FindMassMoney.gov is free, easy to use, and it only takes 30 seconds to search your name. Don't strike out. Instead, hit a grand slam and bring home a win for your wallet when you visit FindMassMoney.gov today. That's FindMassMoney.gov.
Mass General Brigham Health Plan thanks its members for rating us #1 in member satisfaction among commercial health plans in Massachusetts for the 2nd year in a row, and the most trusted by J.D. Power. Mass General Brigham Health Plan. When your insurance coverage is connected to a world-renowned health system, you can worry less and focus more on life's moments. Visit mgbhp.org/everyday. For J.D. Power 2024 award information, visit jdpower.com/awards.
Boston Lawn Mower, the power equipment superstore, has moved to 2 Bridle Lane in Westboro, just off Route 9, around the corner from their old location. Whether you're a homeowner or commercial landscaper, Boston Lawn Mower is your home for top quality power equipment, sales, service, and parts. Boston Lawn Mower is your one-stop shop. And don't miss 0% financing on all zero-turn mowers. Boston Lawn Mower, the power equipment superstore.
Hi, I'm Lori Cadigan, the CEO and owner of Barrett Sotheby's International Realty. We have been Cambridge Savings Bank customers for about 4 years. I think the difference in this bank is the personal touch. We love the bank because we feel like they have our back, from the day-to-day operations through our strategic initiatives. I'm really confident that Cambridge Savings will be with us no matter what the future holds.
Cambridge Savings Bank is proud to support local business owners. Stop by your local branch today. Member FDIC.
At Amica Insurance, we've been protecting New Englanders for generations, long before the first Celtics banner was raised or the iconic parquet floor was laid. For 117 years, Amica's been providing world-class service across auto, home, and life insurance, so you can count on Amica to show up for you like you show up for the Celtics. Amica Insurance, proud sponsor of the 18-time world champion Boston Celtics.
Golfers, check out the new Marlboro Country Club experience. Established in 1922, it's a picturesque, meticulously maintained course with a variety of membership opportunities for individuals, families, and businesses. Enjoy a friendly, inviting golf experience and get 7-day advanced tee time booking. In addition to membership perks, you'll enjoy a great meal and your favorite beverage at the Eastside Grill. Memberships are limited, so check out mccmembership.com today. That's mccmembership.com. Do it now.
Reed's Ferry Sheds. Over 50 years, we've been selling our shed the same way. We're like a stick in the mud. Reed's Ferry does this thing. When the customer comes in, we help them buy a shed. I know, over at the home improvement store, they're cutting edge. They've got this machine that goes, "Welcome, please scan your first item." Geez, I mean, when it comes to not helping people, they got it down to a science. Now you go to Reed's Ferry. I'm sorry, you're going old school. We can't help ourselves. We pay attention to the shed customer, and boy, do we pay attention to our sheds. We wash them, sprinkle them with baby powder, give them a hug, and know them all by name. Bottom line, you end up with a lot more than their parking lot shed. Real service, better quality, backed by a 30-year warranty, and so good looking you can put it in the front yard. See for yourself at reedsferry.com. Then you make the call.
Call 888-85-SHEDS.
Need a shed? If it says Reed's Ferry, you got a good one.
Whoa. A crack in my windshield? Seriously?
At AutoglassNow.com, they know that a cracked windshield can be a pain in the glass. But don't worry, they've got you covered. Autoglass Now provides fast and reliable repairs. Call or visit Autoglass Now and they'll get you scheduled today.
Autoglass Now gets you Autoglass Now.
This hour of the Sports Hub is brought to you by Valvoline Innocent Oil Change. Enjoy quick and convenient vehicle maintenance this month. Visit NewEnglandOilChange.com to save 15% off an extra drive-through oil change at Valvoline Innocent Oil Change, the official oil change of busy people.
On June 1st, show kids with cancer they're not alone. Shave your head at the One Mission Buzz-Off, featuring special guest Rob Gronkowski. Money raised will bring help, hope, and care to thousands of kids and their families fighting cancer. Don't miss this head shaving party, full of love and support. Join the One Mission Buzz-Off at Apex Entertainment in Marlboro. Register today at buzzforkids.org. That's buzzforkids.org.
From the Town Fair This is Boston's home for sports.
Holiday 3. Good night. Jalen forces it up over Somebody tied it.
WPCFM and HD Boston 95, the Sports Hub. Beasley Media Group station. Essential Sports Hub headline presented by Celsius Energy Drinks.
All right, Celtics in Orlando tonight for Game 4. They have a 2-1 series lead. They'll be without Drew Holiday. Jaylen Brown listed as questionable on the injury report. Jason Tatum not on the injury report. Coverage begins 6:30 here on the Sports Hub. Tip-off at 7 p.m. Patriots drafts complete. They drafted a kicker, long snapper, and they've been very active in the undrafted free agency market. You can check out all the draft coverage at 98.5thesportshub.com. Red Sox split a doubleheader yesterday with Cleveland. Revs win. They got a goal from Carlos Heel. Headlines are brought to you by the Prime Rib Dinner at the 99. Available every Friday after 4 p.m. all day Saturday and Sunday. 16 ounces of slow-roasted USDA choice prime rib with 2 sides. You got to love the 9s. I'm Joe Murray. Your next update in 30 minutes.
Get the app.
There's the potential there for big stuff.
98.5 the Sports Hub app. Get the app.
Quick, smelly.
It's Joe Murray on the Sports Hub.
All right, back here 98.5 the Sports Hub. Paul Perillo is here. Patriots.com. Well, Bill Belichick did a interview with CBS this morning. I've listened to some of it. Paul, I know this will be the first time you get to hear it. And well, why don't we start it off, Jeff? I know so there's 3 pretty much big topics here. It's about a 7-minute interview. So why don't we start it off with him talking about Tom Brady? Let's hear this part, Jeff, about Tom Brady and Bill Belichick.
And by the year 2000, Patriots owner Robert Kraft hired Belichick to turn the team into a dynasty, which he did, finding perhaps the best quarterback of all time with the 199th pick of the 2000 draft.
What did you see in Tom Brady that everybody else missed? Because he wasn't the fastest, he wasn't the strongest, he didn't blow you away with his athleticism.
Well, 2 things really. He was accurate and he was a very good decision maker. He got better every single day.
As he got better, you got better. Did you build off of each other?
Absolutely, yeah.
One area where they are clearly different is with the media. Brady seems at ease in the spotlight.
People have a lot of questions.
Belichick does not.
You heard what Robert just said. It's already been addressed. Maybe you ought to go back and look at your notes.
Well, I understand they have a tough job. On the other side of that, as a coach, you have a job to do too. There's times where I could have been more accommodating. I admit that.
Yeah.
You just got to turn the page and move forward. As much as they want to dig deeper and deeper into the grave and see what more is down there, at some point you just got to, look ahead and move on.
Okay. Not much I have on that.
He's funny. I understand it's a national sort of sit down, but like the whole, what did you see in Tom Brady? If he saw something that no one else saw in Tom Brady, in other words, if he saw any signs that Tom Brady was going to be Tom Brady, where do you think you would have picked him, Joe?
In the first round.
It's just like he has. Listen, I think that Bill Belichick is an exceptional football coach. All right, I am not one of these guys that think that they would not have. They would have had all this success regardless of who the coach was because they had Brady. Do I think it was more to do with Brady? Yeah, I do. But that doesn't mean that I think Bill Belichick is not an exceptional coach. But he has an inability, Joe, sometimes to just say things that really didn't have anything to do with him. Didn't have anything to do with him. Tom Brady may have gotten the best head coach for him in Bill Belichick, and that might have been perfect for his development. But can we please not make it out to be that Bill Belichick identified Tom Brady at 199 and the rest is history? That's not what happened. He didn't know he was going to be that. Matter of fact, Dick Rabine, the late, quarterbacks coach is the one who actually identified Tom Brady as a a late round, third day flyer. At the time, it wasn't even the third day. I think it was just day 2 still. He's the one who recommended Tom Brady is the quarterback that the developmental quarterback was the goal, and Tom Brady was the guy that they picked, that Dick Rabine picked. So that whole narrative that Bill loves to try to, we saw he was a great decision maker and he was really accurate. Yeah, you saw that after you took him, not before you took him. You were like everybody else wondering why he was splitting time with Drew Henson at Michigan. That's why he went in the 6th round, Joe. Because people couldn't understand why he couldn't win the starting job outright.
Yep.
Why was he splitting time in college if he was so good? That's why he went in the 6th round.
And he was very slow.
Yeah, I mean, athletically, he didn't measure up.
Yep.
I mean, kind of similar to a guy that we talk about in this draft. Athletically, he's not all that special.
Yep.
Shedeur Sanders.
The other one is, obviously, we know about Bill Belichick's book. Well, somebody was left out of that book. And why don't we hear Bill Belichick on who that person was?
It's also been a momentous year for Belichick. He was named head coach of the University of North Carolina, the result of a messy split from Robert Kraft and the Patriots in early 2024.
He's got a cold, so I'm not going to kiss him.
I have to ask about Robert Kraft because 24 years together, 6 Super Bowls. Unless I'm wrong, he's not in this book. How come?
He's not. Well, again, it's about my life lessons in football, and it's really more about the ones that I experienced directly.
But he's not even in the acknowledgement section.
Correct.
Do you feel like you were treated with dignity and respect when you were let go by Robert Kraft?
Yeah, well, it was a mutual decision for us to part ways.
He said fired.
It was a mutual decision.
So, Paul,
that's good. That stuff, that's good.
What was it?
I like that.
Was he fired, or was because I heard fired?
I believe he was fired. But I know that we at the Patriots try to sort of frame that as sort of an amicable parting of the ways. Yep. But the very first thing there, the question is, Robert Kraft is not in the book. And Bill, very matter-of-factly, he's not. So that's telling you right there that, like we saw the excerpts from the book and people have said, whatever, 289, I forget the amount of pages, but whatever the amount of pages were, not one mention of Robert Kraft. That's funny. How, in case you had any wonder, Joe, if it was intentional, he answered it with one word. He's not. Very matter of fact. There was no accident that he's not in there. And then he's telling you, this is about my life lessons in football. In other words, he's telling you, I didn't learn anything about football from Robert Kraft.
Okay. I don't want people to think I'm agreeing with Belichick when I say this, but I feel like whenever Robert Kraft and the ownership group did meddle is when things didn't go Belichick's way, or
of course,
okay,
when he needed to be meddled with.
We agree with that. Okay,
it's like
I get pushback a lot when I mention that.
I mean, listen, I'm not telling you. There's no such thing as life in life of everybody being like. Did Tom Brady handle everything perfectly?
No.
I mean, the way that everything unfolded, it was time to go. Like, I think the three of them had just sort of had enough of each other. Brady was the first to leave, but this was a fraying relationship. Obviously, it was weighing on Bill's mind, the way he's talking about that. And I think Robert Kraft had enough of the disrespect. Like this kind of stuff right here. You don't have to consider Robert Kraft a football mentor. Mm-hmm. He's the owner. I get it. But we all remember back to that 2009 documentary on the football life where he's like spitting cherry seeds or whatever it is into a cup as he's trying to talk to him. Like, he's the owner. He's your boss. Treat him with, at least some modicum of respect. And he just never did. It was his own kingdom that Bill had. Now, in Bill's defense, He ran that kingdom very effectively for 2 decades. And at the end, it sort of decayed.
Yep, and I think he was a shield for his boss, too.
Yeah.
Whenever...
They all benefited from each other, the three of them.
No doubt about that. I don't think anybody could deny that, but Bill was given a leash for a very long time and then literally hung himself with that leash.
Yeah, and it was like, listen, Robert Kraft absolutely did the right thing. It was time to go. And I thought they handled it as well as they could. Now, it was... people have been critical of my boss. Well, I'll be in full disclosure, Robert Kraft, and I just don't know exactly what was the nice, neat way he was supposed to do that. Like, he tried to be as diplomatic as he could, but you asked me at the beginning when we started this segment, was it a firing? Yeah, probably, yeah. But like, what's the nice way to do that?
I think they did mutually agree to get out of the contract,
and they both went up there and they agreed. We're going to put on a united front. We're going to have this press conference. I don't think anybody necessarily, quote unquote, bought it that these guys were okay. But it was time to go. Mm-hmm. Robert did the right thing. I thought they handled it as well as they could, and they got on with life.
Last one here. This is about his relationship with Jordan Hudson. Is it Jordan Hudson? Well, let's hear it. I heard it already, so let's hear it now.
The other change for Belichick is 24-year-old Jordan Hudson, his creative muse, as he writes in his book.
Make sure that's the...
Jordan was a constant presence during our interview.
You have Jordan right over there. Everybody in the world seems to be following this relationship. They've got an opinion about your private life. It's got nothing to do with them, but they're invested in it. How do you deal with that?
Never been too worried about what everybody else thinks. Just try to do what I feel like is best for me and what's right.
How did you guys meet?
Not talking about this.
No?
No.
It's a topic neither one of them is comfortable commenting on, though Hudson has recently posted about it on Instagram.
You joined InstaFace, as you put it. I love that. There's some great pictures of you and Jordan, where you're a fisherman and she's a mermaid. It's charming. It's a different side of you. What's the reaction been like?
What's it been like?
To have these different sort of photos. There's another one where you're doing, I know you're not into meditation or yoga or Pilates. You're balancing Jordan on your feet, and she's doing kind of the Titanic pose.
Yeah, so I'm on some of those social media platforms, but I honestly don't follow them.
I'm just cringed out by all of that. He's squirming in his seat.
Yeah, because listen, it's obvious with the age gap. It's uncomfortable. It's different. But who does he have to answer to? Not us.
It's true.
I think we can all look at it and say that's kind of strange. It's like a 50-year age difference there. But, it's not something I would want my daughter in a relationship with, but it's not my daughter. So, what are you going to do?
Was there anything else, Jeff? That was pretty much the nuts and bolts of it all?
Yeah, pretty much.
Jeez. So that was 7 minutes of just basically saying Kraft not involved. A little bit about his relationship with Brady, but he's taking all the credit for it. And Jordan was definitely involved about what they were going to talk about and what they couldn't, which has been reported, by the way, right? Like, wasn't she involved with them, or didn't she have some input in them supposedly doing the North Carolina off-season thing, and then it got nixed? I don't know what happened there. So she is the muse of Bill Belichick.
Yeah, that's what he called her, right?
So he goes from Berge to Jordan. I guess it's what a very, very interesting turn of events there. But that was the CBS This Morning interview with Bill Belichick. If there's anything more, we'll have it. Let's take a quick break. I see the phone lines are loaded. People want to get in on this. We're here till 2 o'clock today. Paul Perillo's here. I'm Joe Murray, 98.5 The Sports Hub.
Don't go anywhere. There's more Joe Murray. More Joe Murray. On the way. On
Found the Sports Hub. Paul Perillo's here. I just saw your golf game. Putting over there. Hey, do you ever play out in Peabody at all?
Yeah, I play at the Meadows all the
time. The
Meadows,
yeah. I've met a couple of guys. I've never been there, but I've.
You've never been to the
Never been to the Meadows.
So you're not a golfer then?
I grew up across from the George Wright.
George Wright? Yeah, I played George Wright a lot too. George Wright's a tough course.
My mom's still over there. Shout out, Mom. I've done everything at the George Wright. We used to drink in the woods there.
Yeah, I'm sure.
We used to, have a lot of fun over at the George Wright back in the day.
I like just the stop the line of thought, just laugh and have a lot of fun.
Mayor Menino is a hell of a guy, I got to tell you. Rest in peace. It was one of the benefits of living in Hyde Park was having the mayor.
Oh, yeah?
Yeah, I got a summer.
Area?
Yeah, I had a summer job where, I don't know what they called it, but I got a summer job once. I got poison ivy the first day, got sent home, paid for the entire summer.
Well, that's not bad. Thank
you, Mayor Menino. Those were the days. I forget what they called that. We used to wear red shirts, but we couldn't call it red shirts. I don't know. If anybody was in Boston growing up, we had a couple of things in Boston. We had BNBL basketball.
I remember
Did you guys
that.
have Boston Neighborhood League?
We didn't have it in Everett. We had just a regular Everett League. But I remember I worked at the Herald when I was like in college, and then started out my career. I took BNBL scores over the phone all the time.
So you worked with Danny Ventura.
Danny V, absolutely. I worked with Tony and Mike.
That's right. Oh yeah,
that's how we all met. Actually, I met Mike at BU because Mike and I were at BU together. But
that's right.
I met Tony at the Herald. He was already there when I started.
How was BU Felger?
BU Felger was very similar to Sports Hub Felger.
Yeah. Did he have the glasses? He take it off?
No.
Did he talk?
No.
When he gets a good point, across his legs with his glasses?
No, Mike and I had we had some fun. We'd go to hockey games a little bit. We played some intramural sports against one another. And we did our share of, drinking, shall we say. What do you like to do? You like to laugh before you say have? We did our share of having fun. Mike and I.
That nice little area over there.
BU?
Oh, yeah.
BU is a good place to go. I like the city. I liked the idea of the city campus, the urban setting, as opposed to, you go down south and see some of those schools. They're beautiful. The amount of facilities they have and all that, but
Paradise and all that.
I liked being. I spent a lot of time at the Dugout and Tees Pub and.
Oh, Tees Pub. There you go. There's a spot.
Even our house, all kinds of places.
Well, someone's saying, was it called City Year? That might have been it, man. Now that I'm thinking about it, but yeah, if you were a Boston neighborhood kid, you always got a job every summer. It was always solid. People want to get in on the draft, Celtics. I did want to play some Bruins stuff later on, but Danny's in Quincy. Hello, Danny.
Well, I called about the draft, but, man, after listening to some of those clips from Belichick and Paul Perillo's comments about Brady, and 32 other teams passed on Tom Brady, Paul.
Yeah.
Okay? Including the San Francisco 49ers, who had the 31st overall pick in the draft that year. They passed on him.
Correct.
Okay?
Everybody passed on him. Yep.
Okay. And I'll tie it into Joe Milton and how Drew Bledsoe was the quarterback, and you thought Drew Bledsoe shouldn't lose his job to Tom Brady, who Tom Brady thought he was a better quarterback than Drew Bledsoe at the time. And Joe Milton gets kicked out of New England because he thinks he can play better than Drake May. What is wrong with that?
I don't think there's anything wrong with that. When did I say there was something wrong with Joe Milton?
You said he was kicked out of New England because he thought he could be the number one starting quarterback. Whether he can or he can't, what's wrong with a player having that attitude? Tom Brady had the same attitude.
I never said there's nothing wrong with Joe Milton thinking he should play. I don't think there's. I never said there's anything wrong with that.
All right.
I said I think that's why they traded him. I didn't say there's anything wrong with Joe Milton for it.
All right. Do you agree with that? Do you agree with that?
No, I don't think they should have traded Joe Milton. I said it at the time.
Okay.
I don't have a daily show to talk.
You were condoning. And what does that say about the head coach that he would acquiesce to trading a guy? And I'm not saying he should.
You know what, Danny? They should bring Bill Belichick back so they can win 4 games every year again.
No, that's not. Don't go there.
And you'll be the only one that'll be happy about it.
Don't go there.
But this is the same time. Every time I'm on, you attack me because I thought they should have fired Bill Belichick.
No,
and
I didn't say anything about Bill Belichick. I didn't mention Bill Belichick. You brought up Bill Belichick.
No, you just said, they passed on him 32
other
times.
teams passed on him.
Yeah.
And I'll tell you another thing. After Tom Brady took Drew Bledsoe's job, you and 90%, it was a 90-10 issue by the media that thought Drew Bledsoe should keep his job and shouldn't lose his job to injury.
That's incorrect.
You fraud.
That's incorrect.
You're friggin' fraud.
That's incorrect. I am a Drew Bledsoe guy through and through. That part of it is accurate. I thought Drew Bledsoe was better than Tom Brady. When Drew Bledsoe was ready to come back and play it toward the end of the 2001 season, I did not think that Tom Brady should go back to the bench. That's incorrect. That you're being a fraud.
But you are on the Drew Bledsoe.
Unlike a lot of people who do not ever change their opinions based on the facts that are presented, Tom Brady entered a situation that Drew Bledsoe was in and did better than Drew Bledsoe did in it. Therefore, I changed my line of thought because what I saw was different than what I thought, which made me wrong.
Rich that you sit there and malign Belichick for not recognizing the guy in college when the Boston media.
See, Danny, you can't even understand the language. I didn't malign. Stop. Let's have a conversation. You talked. Now I'm going to talk.
Okay,
I didn't malign.
Stop. I never know when Joe.
I did not malign Bill Belichick for not recognizing Tom Brady. I'm maligning Bill Belichick for claiming that he made Tom Brady, that I saw all these skills in Tom Brady, and that's why I took him. That's not accurate. He took a flyer based on Dick Rabine's recommendation. Everything Belichick did with Brady, Belichick deserves credit for. Just don't give me the identifying that I had this diamond in the rough that no one else saw. Like he sort of intimated.
Okay. You finished?
I'm finished.
I need a clarification on the clip that I heard while I was on hold. Was he talking about Tom Brady in college, or was he talking about Tom Brady being fourth on the depth chart and having him move up because he saw something in the guy when he was on the team already, and everybody and their mother wanted Drew Bledsoe, the sacred cow who just got a $100 million contract, and Belichick had the balls to move him up through the depth chart and put him in there as a starting quarterback. Tell me which one is that?
That didn't happen.
Which one is he talking about?
First of all, the question that he was asked was, he was taken with the 199th pick overall. What did you see that everybody else missed? So that has nothing to do with...
I didn't know whether he was talking about when he was
that's number
already
one.
on
Number
the team,
two,
or when
what
he was
you
in
just said
Michigan.
happened didn't happen. He did not make Tom Brady the starting quarterback. Drew Bledsoe was the starting quarterback and got hurt.
Well, the recommendation had to come in from his subordinates, didn't it?
What subordinates? What are you talking about?
You say Rabine made the pick. You don't think it was run by Belichick?
I don't think Rabine saw anything that no one else saw either. They took him 199th. They took a flyer on a developmental guy.
So, okay, but Belichick...
There was no identification involved.
Was he talking
and he did
about
not
him
name
at
him the
Michigan
starting
or
quarterback.
when he was already on the Patriots? That's what I'm asking you.
This was in college. What did they see in him in college that everybody else missed? My answer is nothing.
Well, there were plenty of things to see. Every time he got an opportunity, when that prima donna Drew Henson got hurt or was out of the game, Brady came through. He won the biggest games of the season for Michigan when he played for Michigan. I'm sure people saw that.
Correct.
I'm sure he saw it. I'm sure Eddie DiBartolo Jr. was the owner of the San Francisco 49ers, I believe. Correct me if I'm wrong. He passed on him. The guy was practically in tears. I saw him in an interview. And I saw Tom Brady make a clip once he was on the Patriots saying, "I'm coming for your effing job, Tom."
I love it. I love it.
He said that.
I love it. I love it. In all seriousness, I love the passion.
Because he was a disruption to the delicate balance of Drake May. Oh, we're having a good time.
Drew Bledsoe was traded for a first-round pick, bro. There's a big difference. I love the pat. I love Danny. Danny's been yelling at me since I was at EEI. I do.
If I have time to talk about the draft.
Yes.
It would have been good.
Evidently, Joe's turned the show over to you.
Did I do anything, Danny? You want to get on?
No, nothing. Okay, right. But here's well, I got a problem with you wanting the Patriots to just go out on the field and lay down and let the other team win. When you're a bettor and you say the ref fix every game, give me a friggin' break. You want to move up in the draft? Trade up, trade down, move this, move that. Don't lose games on purpose because you think that guy's going to be good in the draft. Okay? Had I been the Patriots, I would have, as soon as I found...
I can't do it anymore. Can't do it.
Danny's been yelling at me for the better part of 20 years.
Why did that? I'm dying.
Do you remember when I said about an hour ago, like, I really enjoy people that look at things differently than I do? And I know that people aren't going to believe this. That's why I like guys like Danny. Danny looks at almost everything in a different way than I do.
Oh my God.
And I just love the passion that he brings. And when his voice cracks and he starts yelling at people.
I was like, you got anything for me? And he goes, no. And he goes, actually,
no,
you know
actually,
what?
yeah.
You complain about the refs all the time. Thank you.
No, his point was you wanted them to lay down, but yet you're the one who's always saying that these games are fixed.
Yeah.
So you want them to be fixed.
They did want that one to be fixed. They really, really did. Whew.
Never changed, Danny.
Scott's in Lowell. Hey, Scott.
Hey, how you guys doing? Good to call in and talk to you. I've been listening since you guys first came on the air. Why do we have to listen to this clown every week? His shtick is old. It's not entertaining. It doesn't bring anything to the table. I understand you got to be fair and take calls from different people and different opinions and stuff like that, but it's the same thing every time. He's going to start talking all nice and mellow, and he knows what he's talking about, and next thing you know, he's blowing a gasket. I can't wait to hear him have an aneurysm on the air.
Oh, God. You know what? At least he doesn't have a podcast. Everyone's got a podcast now, Paul.
I don't know. Like, why would people get all upset about it? I don't know.
Once I heard DeBartolo's name, I don't know why it made me laugh so much. And Jeff, thank you for putting him on hold for a minute there.
Oh, yeah, I had to tone him down.
Yeah.
I'm getting killed by calls right now, just complaining about Danny.
I haven't seen
people are threatening not to listen anymore.
And none of them are from me.
The other station. I'm like, he calls over there, too.
I have never seen you like that, Paul.
What?
He got you today.
Oh, I listen, when people...
He called you a fraud.
When people put words in my mouth, it bugs me. So I still have a Drew Bledsoe thing in my office at work, like a poster. Not a poster, but like this big blown up picture of Bledsoe. I love Drew, okay? When Brady went in and started winning games with the same team that Drew wasn't winning games with, I didn't just continue to say, Drew should play, Drew should play, Drew should play. I didn't say that. I actually used the new information that I've received, and it formed a different opinion than the one I previously had. So when someone tells me that I was a fraud and said that Bledsoe should still play, yeah, that bugs me, because that didn't happen. Did I think that Bledsoe should lose his job because of injury? No, I thought he deserved a chance to win his job back. But the other guy played better. Right?
Yeah, listen.
Brady played better in 01 than Bledsoe was playing in 01 before he got hurt.
I would...
Or that he played in 2000, the last full season he played.
If you wanted to tell me that Bledsoe at that time was better than Brady, I would still tell you he was.
And I'll tell you with the fact that that's what the coaches still thought too.
Yeah.
Contrary to what Danny tried to just say, that they recognized all the things that he was doing well and he moved up the depth chart and was named the starting quarterback. That didn't happen. He was named the backup.
Yes, the backup.
He supplanted Damon Heward as the backup. He went from 3 to 2.
Mm-hmm.
If they thought that he was better than Bledsoe, he'd have started.
That's right. Even if he got a brand new.
And I've talked to people over the years. I talked to him back then, and I've talked to him more recently. We do a segment that we call Pats from the Past. We do a little podcast with various characters in the past. And I've asked a couple of different people, when would you have made that move had Bledsoe not gotten hurt? One said we may never have.
Yeah, that's true.
Now, you could make an argument that Belichick would have wanted to make a move and maybe felt too much pressure at the time, because don't forget, Belichick wasn't Belichick then. He's not Belichick with the 6 Super Bowl titles in 2001. They hadn't won anything yet. His job was sort of hanging in the balance. They were 5-13 under Bledsoe with Belichick there. So maybe he wouldn't have felt comfortable enough to make that move, but I've had more than one person tell me they may never have. They saw what Brady was doing, but I don't think they were convinced that Bledsoe was the entire problem. Now it's sort of become chic. Ernie Adams on the documentary is talking about all the shortcomings, the wounded and the wild boar, Now it's easy to say because the guy who took over won 7 Super Bowls. So now it's easy to say, oh yeah, that was coming. That was good. By week 5, that would have happened whether Bledsoe got hurt or not. I've had someone who was directly involved tell me that we may never have made that move.
It's hard when you just sign a guy to a big kind of deal like that too. So, anyways, that made me laugh. I was just, you were going, he was yelling, you were making sense. I was just glad it wasn't me. And then I stuck my foot in my mouth and.
Yeah, it's like you weren't getting yelled at enough, and you were like, "Well, you got nothing for me." Well, I got you. This sacred cow.
That was we needed that. I felt like that's going to boost us into the final 90 minutes of the show here. The phone lines are loaded, so we'll take more of your calls here as we're here till 2:00 today here on 98.5 The Sports Hub.
You're listening to Joe Murray on 98.5. You're listening to Joe Murray on 98.5 The Sports Hub.
Tune into the next Celtics broadcast to find out which player really took care of business in the first half, sponsored by Cambridge Savings Bank. With CSB, you get a partner who puts you first so you can focus on what matters most. Visit CambridgeSavings.com or stop by a branch to start your relationship today. Member FDIC.
At Best Ford of Nashua, get employee pricing on our most popular models all month long. Plus, all vehicles on the lot are tariff-free. From America, for America. Only at thebestford.com. www.bestford.com/special event disclosures for full details.
Set yourself up for success. Their locally owned Benjamin Moore store proudly serves the New England area with more than just paint. They're here to support you and help you find everything you need to bring your projects to life. From expert advice to premium products, they'll help you every step of the way. Enjoy exceptional service and explore a selection of beautiful paint colors designed for lasting results. Visit Koopman Lumber today and experience the difference that Benjamin Moore's quality products and personalized guidance can make.
Whether I'm heading to a game, the airport, or out with friends, to get where I need to be in comfort and style, I rely on the pros at A+ Coach. Anthony and his team at A+ Coach offer world-class personal transportation services with the best fleet of luxury vehicles anywhere in Massachusetts, all at an affordable price. Next time you're heading to a game, heading to Logan like I do, or heading to Boston for a night out, leave the driving to A+ Coach. For reservations and more, visit apluscoach.com or call 781-THE-LIMO. That's apluscoach.com or 781-THE-LIMO. And to get the best rate, tell them so sent you.
Boston, 26.2 miles of pure grit, just like your engine, pushing its limits. Valvoline Instant Oil Change, fast, reliable, just like a well-oiled machine, will keep you running smoothly. Whether you're conquering Heartbreak Hill or tackling the daily commute, the team at Valvoline Instant Oil Change has your back. Get in, get out, get back on the road within 15 minutes. Valvoline Instant Oil Change, because life's a marathon, not a sprint. The official oil change of keeping Boston moving.
Hey, it's Maz from Bigelow. We all know how important it is to live a healthy lifestyle. I try to stick to a healthy diet, exercise, and I drink plenty of Bigelow tea. I love the different flavors, and it's perfect for someone who makes his living behind a microphone. Bigelow tea is always part of my daily ritual. Love the taste, and it helps my voice stay in peak condition. In fact, I refuse to settle for anything less than the best, and that's why I'm proud to be a Bigelow tea drinker. So grab a mug full of your favorite Bigelow tea and tea proudly. Bigelow tea, official hot tea of the Boston Red Sox.
Welcome to the NBA playoffs. The moment we've all been waiting for is here.
The fans now on the edge of their seats.
It's time to stay locked in to every single moment. Because you never know when history will be made. When it's win or go home, every moment matters. So don't miss a thing. NBA playoffs presented by Google continues on ABC, ESPN, TNT, and NBA TV.
Hey, it's Hardy, and there are 3 things I think we all know about Bostonians. We don't like getting ripped off, don't like garbage workmanship, or shady contractors. That's why Bostonians want Beantown Home Improvements. Jim and his crew are so easy to work with, and they are absolute perfectionists. They'll explain everything in detail so that you understand the process, and you'll get a fair price. Call 44 Beantown or hit BeantownHI.com. 44 Beantown or BeantownHI.com. It's spring, now's the time, and Beantown Home Improvements is how you do it.
If your credit card bills have gotten out of hand, call Consolidated Credit now. If the interest rates on your credit cards are so high, it'll take years to get out of debt. Call Consolidated Credit now. They've helped over 10 million people without destroying your credit. They can reduce your interest rates, lower your total payments up to 50% to get you out of debt fast. For a free consultation, call Consolidated Credit now. The program works.
Call 800-210-4298. 800-210-4298. 800-210-4298.
Consolidated Credit Solutions Incorporated, 5701 West Sunrise Boulevard, Fort Lauderdale, Florida 33313. Licensed by the New York Department of Financial Services and by the Vermont Department of Financial Regulation. Kansas CSO 0019051. Maryland DM 1492. Oregon DM 892. Licensed by the Virginia State Corporation Commission, license number DCA3. Service may adversely affect the individual's credit. Non-payment of debt may lead to additional finance charges or collections activity, including legal action. Actual interest rates, length of program, and monthly payment reductions will vary by consumer and creditor. Yours could be higher or lower. Not a loan company. We do not lend money.
Around here, we call them the Joe Murray Pre-Party. It's Felger and Maz afternoons right now. Joe Murray on the Sports Hub.
All right, back here at 98.5 the Sports Hub. Ooh, wow. That last segment was fun. Somebody was on the line and they hung up, but they wanted to talk about Shedeur Sanders. And you ever see that T-shirt of all the Browns
quarterbacks for the Browns?
Do you know what their room is right now? Their quarterback room. I always go to our lads.
Joe Flacco, Kenny Pickett, Dylan Gabriel, and Shedeur Sanders.
And Deshaun Watson.
That's true. He is still on the roster.
So, that's T-shirt worthy. Like, that should just be a T-shirt in itself. Deshaun Watson, Joe Flacco, Kenny Pickett. All right, so Kenny Pickett was part of that draft class that stinks.
Yeah.
I don't know if Dylan Gabriel's an NFL quarterback.
I don't think he is. And I like him a lot. He was a really good college player. I just think he's too small.
Flacco brought them to the playoffs 2 years ago. He's probably 1 foot out of the league, but can still play a little bit. I don't know. You think Shedeur Sanders is going to play on one of those Thursday night Cleveland games against the Jaguars?
Yeah, I mean, here's the thing: it's like all the old time coaches will tell you, it's like the NFL. It's like the ultimate meritocracy. Like if you deserve to play, you'll find a way. If your talent is such that you're that much better than everybody else, then you're going to get out there and get a chance to prove that, right?
Mm.
I am a little skeptical of Sanders. I think that he's a good player. I don't understand why. I mean, we all have our theories, but no, do I think he deserved to get taken in the 5th round? No. But I would have waited till the 2nd round. If I was one of these NFL teams, I wouldn't have used a 1st round pick on him.
I thought Sanders was pretty good. Now, granted, he's played in multiple conferences. He's played in different levels of football. Again, I'm not a guy who...
Physically, I just don't think he's as good as like Cam Ward. I don't think he stacks up.
Cam Ward was incredible. Bill Belichick loved him, and then he went to the draft or the combine, and then ended up going back to school and transferred. That's what's going to happen to, again, a couple of guys this year. Carson Beck, I think, went from Georgia to Miami this year. Got a huge NIL deal, but he could have came out this year and been an early pick. That's why I was saying earlier, I feel like the NIL deals for some of these kids, it's worth staying in school. But I think Shedeur Sanders can play. I just,
I think he can play.
I think he can play, and I just remember his dad saying, anybody who wants to go to Cleveland, it's not the right spot, or, I'd pull an Eli Manning. So there it is, your kid now playing for Cleveland.
And I have no doubt that that's part of why he ended up in the 5th round. All the stuff that goes with it. If you were one of those teams, and then what happens if you're struggling, and then you draft him, and then, I'm going to lose a job, and what the pressure's going to be to what? Hire Dion to replace me?
Oh, yeah.
I mean, I think all of that factors in, and you don't have to say it's fair. It's probably not, but I think there is. I mean, like I said, I don't think physically he was a no-brainer first-round pick. I don't think he was a first-round pick.
You could say Colorado was the Cleveland Browns. At one point, they were a bad football team the last couple of years until Dion got there. I know 1 year they won 4 games, 3 games.
Yeah.
Last year they were pretty
like
decent.
500.
Yeah, he's turned the program
right?
around, though. He has.
Yeah, well, he's turned them around from a perception standpoint. It's a destination now. It's on the map. The attention that he's brought to school has been ridiculous. He attracted, 80, transfers, in his first year. But they've been basically a 500 team in the 2 years, right?
True. 2 different conferences, too. Played in the best conference in the country 2 years ago, the Pac-12, and now they're Big 12?
Yeah. Yeah. And I do think that they probably will continue to get better. It's a big-time rebuilding process, and they were down at the depths. And Colorado was a once proud program.
That's right.
In the 90s, they were really good, but they had really fallen on hard times.
Great coach. Heisman Trophy winners.
Bill McCartney.
Yep. Ted Johnson's coach. Get ready for this name when camp starts. Efton Chisholm. You know who he is?
I do not.
Wide receiver from Eastern Washington. Put up huge numbers. He actually was projected to be a draft pick. I wonder if his agent said he'd rather be undrafted. So maybe that's why teams stayed away from him. But the Patriots signed him. He's an undrafted kid, plays the slot, pure slot.
What's his size?
I'll give you that in a second here. But they've had tons of these guys. He's 5'11", 200. Who's the guy from Northwestern that they had years ago? They've had a lot of guys.
Austin Carr.
There you go. Boom.
You want me to give you the slot receiver greatest hits?
Yes, please. I would like that.
Jeremy Ebert, Jeremy Gallen, Devin Lucien, Trey Nixon, TJ Moe.
Wow.
Austin Carr. What do all these guys have in common?
All did not make the team.
Yeah.
Well, Lucien might have.
No.
No?
So I think people look at Julian Edelman. They're like, he's the next Julian Edelman. No, don't sell Julian Edelman short. He's special. He was a 7th-round pick and self-made, changing from quarterback to wide receiver, and he did it. But, for every Braxton Berrios that comes after him that can't do it, that's more common. And I think all of these guys are always thought of as the next Edelman or Welker, and those guys are different cats.
What type of offense do you think you'll see from Josh McDaniels this year? Similar to what it looked like with Mac Jones or even Brady, or will it be a different offense?
Yeah, I think it'll have a lot of the same kind of characteristics. I think we'll go back to the quarterback identifying the mic and that kind of stuff, and I do wonder if it's going to be so fixated on the slot receiver as the volume guy. And I also wonder what they'll do with Drake May's legs, how they'll incorporate Drake May's mobility into the offense and, maybe give him some design runs. I think Josh has been a guy who has kind of been infatuated with the mobile quarterback, back to Tim Tebow. And if you believe rumors and reports, he was interested in Lamar Jackson the year that they ended up, regretting not taking him, according to Bill Belichick. One of his big regrets was not taking Lamar Jackson. So I wonder what Josh will change with the offense. But it needs to change. It can't just be reliant on, 6-yard crossing routes to, stay ahead of the sticks all the time. They need to try to make some plays too.
All right, Paul Perillo's here. We got 1 hour to go. We're actually on time. You believe that, Jeff? Finally took until now. I'm still coming down from the Danny from Quincy call. Once we started talking about ownership from other teams from 1999, 2000.
Did Danny just get us back on track? Is that what you're saying?
That might have been it. We got loaded phone lines. I do want you to hear some of this Bruins stuff from this week, too. I don't want to let them off the hook either. Because, since there was the Patriots draft, they wanted to talk about their drafts as well. So we'll let Paul hear that. We get the final hour of the show coming up next here on 98.5 The Sports Hub.
More Joe Murray coming up on The Sports Hub.
opinion.
So can you just elaborate on that, Kevin?
The drafting?
Yeah.
Well,
where we've picked and who we've picked and how it's turned out.
Well, where you've picked is not a lot of top 10 picks, but ultimately,
not a lot of first-round picks.
But ultimately, are those draft picks? Have they developed? Have they come in? Have they come online the way you want them? If that's the case, fine. But
well, obviously, you want to hit on all your picks. There's no question. I mean, the work that the scouts do throughout the course of a year, they put in a lot of time and effort. They understand the players as best they can. We get the information from the scouts. Don ultimately ends up making the picks with the information that he gets from the scouts throughout the year. I think that our drafting and developing, the narrative there is a little off. And it's been going on for quite some time. Goes back to 15. And 15, it was really unfair to Don. By the time Don got hired, it was late May. Draft was late June. He wasn't even probably thinking about being a general manager of the Boston Bruins at the time. What Don did leading up to the draft to make the acquisitions that he did with those picks, to get the 3 picks, I thought was really good.
All right, back here at 98.5 The Sports Hub. It's the final hour here. Paul Perillo's alongside Patriots.com. We didn't want to do draft talk all day long. Now I don't want to leave the Bruins off the hook here. But they had a press conference this week. And, one thing that happened there was Kevin Paul DuPont pressed them about 2 things. One was Charlie Jacobs about an increase in ticket prices, which they did this year again, to season ticket holders. So I believe it's 9% now over 2 years. Jeff, do you have season tickets, or you just go to the game?
No, I used to have season tickets. I got out because they just kept raising them. Like, I can only imagine what I used to pay when I first got the tickets to what I'd be paying now. It'd probably be a strong, crazy.
So that was one of them. But then basically said, yep, we're raising them. And then B, it was about the drafting and development. And, basically Cam Neely said, where we've drafted or even had first-round picks. And I would just like to say, you guys had to dump players and first-round picks just to get out of players. So, defending any of that, I thought was a really bad look. And then the other thing that he mentioned, it was a quote, because I've used it all week. Whenever somebody has said something to me, I've come back with this quote. It's not as bad as everyone thinks. When you say it's not as bad as everybody thinks, and then he starts just going right back to 2015, they've had bad drafts over the last few years. They've drafted guys in the first round, a year ago, had 1 goal all year in college in the first round.
Dean Letourneau, I believe,
zero.
had 0. So I would say the entirety of Neely Sweeney is probably not as bad as people think, because I do think that they've made some good moves. I think they've made some good signings. I think they've made a couple of runs. Some of the draft picks that they've let go, it hasn't always been bad rentals. Some of them have been, and some of them, turned out worse because of what happened. Like Rick Nash getting a concussion and not really ever playing, obviously makes that a terrible move. So I don't think that it's been all bad, but the drafting is every bit as bad as what people think. And the part that really sticks out to me, and I know this is not anything new, you guys have been talking about this stuff all week. This whole notion that Cam is trying to say that Don Sweeney comes in 15, that's when he got hired, right before the draft. But he was already here for a long time.
I know.
I don't see how that's an excuse. That draft was loaded. They had 3 picks in a row in that draft, Joe, and they really, I give them a mild hit on DeBrusque, but everybody else around them seemed to get a really good player. And you had 3 chances and didn't get an impact guy. I don't think that's overblown. Now, I also think that, some of the thing that's overblown is the way that they always talk about the team's record in the regime. Well, what's their record in the playoffs in the regime? How many first-round knockouts have they had? And, You make the comment that they've always been Stanley Cup contenders. I would say, no, they haven't. They were a Stanley Cup contender a couple years ago when they set the record with the regular season with 65 wins, and they got knocked out in the first round. They were a Stanley Cup contender that year, and they were certainly a Stanley Cup contender in 19. They weren't a Stanley Cup contender last year when they got knocked out in the second round to Florida. That was a team that I think got about as much out of it as they were going to get. One round in the playoffs. So I understand, where they're coming from, but I side on with you here. Like, their defensive nature is kind of strange to me. Understand where you are. You didn't make the playoffs. You got some work to do, and you have some rebuilding to do. Don't back away from that, and don't try to make it better than it is. Don't try to sugarcoat it.
My long takeaway from the Bruins press conference this week, I feel worse about the team now than I did at the end of the season. And here's the thing. You mean to tell me they're going to hire a new coach potentially, because Joe Sacco's still in the mix, your boy. He's still in the mix.
He's my boy because I played high school baseball against him.
He's your boy.
I've never met him, but he's my boy. I do know David, his younger brother. I know David a little bit. Haven't seen him in a long time. But
well, anyways, imagine hiring a new coach and then the GM's contract's up in a year. Like, I hate this whole setup. If you want Sweeney back, give him an extension, right? And I'll be the first to tell you that I think it's been the Bruins players that have been the worst overall. And what I mean by that is management did everything they could to improve the team, and it's the team that really blew it. Now, they have fired multiple coaches that have gone on to be successful. One's won championships, one's in the playoffs right now. But in general, have they done everything they could to improve the team? Yes.
Yeah. That's why I said it's not as bad as a lot of people think. I don't think it was I personally, I wouldn't have fired them. I think they've done some good stuff.
Yep.
But recognize the stuff that you haven't done well. It seemed like they were pushing back a lot on everything.
My whole thing is just extend Sweeney. If he's going in the last year of his deal, extend him.
Yeah.
Didn't he just make all these trades at the deadline? I kind of like the moves.
It's kind of like, when I said, what I didn't love about the Patriots draft was the fact that they were painted into a corner and they had to take a left tackle. It's kind of like what I would say for the Bruins with this situation with Swayman.
Oh.
They had to sign him because of the way they handled it.
Ooh, see.
Do you know what I mean? Like, they gave him too much money, and they gave all the power to Swayman.
Yep.
Because they made the move with Allmark first.
Yep. They made the move with Allmark to get a first-round pick and get out of paying him a roster bonus, but they lost their identity of the two goaltender. Like, they lost that.
Right.
They didn't have to. They could have kept both guys under the same amount of money.
But when they did it, that means you now have to extend Swayman. Otherwise, you're a year away from having no goalie at all. And that's not the way you want to do business. You don't want to be backed into a corner. I think there's some similarities there.
You're right. And this year, now they're probably going to have to spend big money on a center again. And now you're going to be looking at potentially somebody who makes $10 million. I mean, I don't know if they're in the market for a Mitch Marner at $13 million again. But they have nobody in the system, so now they're probably forced to sign one of these guys.
I think Marner would make some sense for that reason, what you just said. But, yeah, because Lindholm is not a top-line center. He might not even be a top-six center the way. But, I suppose if it's hard to extrapolate what he did down the street. Because he played better at the end.
But the whole line played better.
But he's playing with Pastrnak.
Yep.
So if you want to keep that together, my guess is if you're going to make a big-time signing like Mitch Marner, he's going to be playing with Pastrnak. So, yeah, I don't know. They have some trouble. They have some rebuilding to do. This is what I'm saying.
Retooling.
I don't care what you call it. Rebuilding, retooling, whatever. But just don't back away from it. Don't pretend that it's like this was an unfortunate season. It wasn't.
Mm-hmm. Accountability, it's called, Paul. I think they might have said they took accountability, but I just don't know. I didn't feel it. Like when Kraft fired, they moved on from Mayo, I felt it. This whole offseason, I feel it. Don't feel it with the Bruins at the moment.
Yep, I agree.
All right, let's take some calls here. We're here till 2 o'clock today. Everything's on the table. Let's start with Robert. He's in San Diego. Hey, Robert.
Hey, how you doing? Thank you for having me on your show, but I'm just going to let you know I'm a big Bruins fan, but I can tell you this much. They had their chances. They should never fired Montgomery. but that's my opinion. I only want to talk about the Celtics. We don't win today, we're in trouble. And they've got the players. They got Jordan Walsh. They're not using the bench for rebounding and for physicality. If you use those guys, you're going to win.
So, Jordan Walsh.
Yep, I like him. He's a good rebounder.
I'm not saying right, wrong, or indifferent, but you think that's the difference between winning and losing today is to get a guy.
Yes, I do, because Brown's got a bad index for your finger, and I can tell you this much: whether you agree with me or not, that new owner is going to look at it and say, "Why are we paying these guys thousands of dollars? They're hurt. I understand things happen. I'm not a player. I'm a watcher, the armchair guy.
We all are. We're all the same.
But I'm just being honest with you. If we don't win today, we're in trouble. Okay, we can win today. Tatum is having some good games. He's playing with heart. He's rebounding. He's getting stuff. But if you got guys on the bench, the other guy, Nemus or whatever his name is, the big guy for center, get him out there. He's physical. And if you get these guys out there,
now that's different. I kind of agree with you on Kata. I think that he gave him something the first half of the season has sort of disappeared. Cornette has gotten
he's not using them.
Well, Cornette took
They're not using
minutes.
them. Yes, I understand that, but now it's time to start really rotating better, and he's got the skills to do it. I just don't understand this. And then you hired this guy from Alabama. He's good. He slammed, and they gave him props. I mean, the guy. These are 3 or 4 guys you put out.
Thanks, Robert. And I don't mean to cut you off, but they're going 8 deep.
Yeah, and I'm sorry. These guys. I'm not trying to be disrespectful. They're NBA players. These guys are not difference makers in the playoffs. Teams shorten their rotations when it comes to this time of year.
They have 8 guys. You need more from Hauser.
Yeah,
you've
got nothing from Sam Hauser.
Hauser, the guy can shoot. He's all in every round in his career. He's done well in the first round, is what I mean. Yeah, against Atlanta a couple of years ago, he did very well. He's giving them nothing, literally nothing. Now, if they were to go to another guy, Tatum might be a guy. I don't know if they want to go there. The late bloomer for me has been Shireman. I just don't think they're going to do it.
Think Shireman could be Hauser next year?
No, I know that people think that that's the case. My comp for Shireman is like a Joe Ingles type guy who can handle the ball and shoot.
Yeah, but I'm just talking about the minutes. I'm not talking.
Yeah.
I mean, I think Hauser is strictly the only thing he provides is 3-point shooting.
Yeah, and
maybe Shireman's a better all around player than that. I'm just saying the minutes, that role. Does he sort of take that role next year?
Yeah. My only thing is they need ball handlers right now with no Holiday, and I think Shireman's probably the only guy outside of Pritchard that can handle the ball. Not J.D. Davison that he's talking about.
No,
who was G League Player of the Year, but.
No, and I'm not trying to be disrespectful. These guys are in the NBA. I'm not looking down at Jordan Wall. I just don't. Those guys are not going to be the difference between you winning and losing today.
They will not be.
If he's right, if the caller is right, and Jaylen Brown's finger prevents him from being able to play at a high level, and Jason Tatum's wrist prevents him from being, they could be in trouble.
They could be.
Jordan Walsh isn't going to come to the rescue.
Mm-hmm. Justin and Lynn. Hey, Justin.
Hey, Joe and Paul. I just had a thought on the Celtics. I was concerned because I listened to some of the game last night, the other game on the Sports Hub because I was out on Friday. But I watched the fourth quarter, and the Celtics really concerned me. And I'll give you one point that really concerned me was the turnovers, Joe. They had 22 turnovers, and that, to me, was the difference in the game. I don't know what you feel about that.
Absolutely.
Mm-hmm.
You got to be stronger with the ball.
Yep.
Can't turn it over 22 times. Orlando can't score, but if you turn it over 22 times, you allow them to get some easy points that they're otherwise not going to be able to create. So you got to protect the ball better.
Justin's my buddy. He does Lynn TV.
Oh yeah,
he does a show on Lynn TV, and I went and met him one night, and he's a Monty's guy. You like Monty's?
Monty's?
You've had Monty's pizza?
I don't think so.
Wow.
I don't think so.
My favorite's Volo. You ever had Volo?
I've had Volo. That's the Detroit style, right?
Oh yeah, go see Tony in there.
Yeah, I've had Volo.
See my photo on the wall when you walk in.
Oh, I got to go and sign it.
That's right.
Next time I go in there, I haven't been there in a while.
I would like that. Yes,
my youngest son was a big fan of Volo.
Oh,
I used to go there once in a while.
Tony's a big Patriots fan. He loves you. I've talked to him about you.
This is great. I got to start frequenting some of these places that evidently people know who I am.
Should I give you a business card that's like called Joey's Joints or something like that? We got some Bruins. All right, do we do Bledsoe or Bruins? I think we go Bledsoe because it's got a special place in your heart.
So I can get yelled at again?
Matt's in Braintree. Hey, Matt.
Hey, Paul, I don't mean you personally, but this obsession with Drew Bledsoe, this is one of the biggest career losers in Boston sports, okay? This is a guy who told the Tacoma, Washington paper out there, or whatever it was, the least favorite day of his life every year was when training camp started, and the happiest moment of his life was when the season ended. So this guy is a loser. He shouldn't even be in the Patriots Hall of Fame. And what did the guy ever do but just stand there, pat the ball, and get sacked every down? It's banana land. The guy was terrible. No, he didn't. No. Bill Parcells drafted the defense.
Please stop.
He didn't go to the Super Bowl?
No, he did. Bill Parcells drafted the defense.
Okay, but Joe just said he went to the Super Bowl, and you said no, he didn't.
Well, okay, all right.
He actually went to two Super Bowls.
He was on a team that went to the Super Bowl.
He went to 2 Super Bowls.
No, he was the quarterback of the team that went to the Super Bowl, and he was a large reason why they were there.
But just this revisionist history that this guy was just like one of the greatest. It makes me want to
one of the greatest.
Because the guy didn't like to play football.
Of all time, no, he wasn't one of the greatest of all time, but he's the second best quarterback in Patriots history.
I would say.
There's been like 3 of them. There's been like 3 quarterbacks.
I mean, come on. Team for over 50 years.
From 1993.
Yeah, but there's only been 2 that have mattered, and he just hasn't been
Bledsoe and
terrible.
Brady, and he's 2.
Yeah, but he just hasn't been terrible. But the guy didn't even like to play football, so. You got to change your take on that. I love you guys.
Hey, Matt,
first of all, I don't have to change my take when you call in and just troll me, which is completely fine.
It's not.
But and make up quotes, but that's fine. Like, I get it. Like, Brady's just 1,000 times better than Bledsoe, and no one here would argue with you.
I would make the case that Drew Bledsoe from
was
1993 to 2003 was a top 10 quarterback in the league.
I would say it's probably a smaller span than that, even though I love Drew. It was probably like 94 to 99. He was a perennial Pro Bowler and one of the best quarterbacks in the league. But he was not great. He was not over the top. He never put it all together. He never eliminated the sort of killer mistakes. His mobility was an issue, and that got worse as time went on. So, I recognize his faults, but if we're going to sit here and say he stunk, he never did anything, so now you're just trolling me. Now you're just saying stuff that wasn't true. He was good.
Now, was he
great.
Steve Young, Brett Favre, John Elway, Troy Aikman, Dan Marino, Warren Moon, Randall Cunningham? No.
No. I mean, I would argue that he was in a much different way, maybe as good as a couple of those last guys, but like John Elway, Dan Marino, Troy Aikman, Brett Favre, no. Wasn't as good as those guys.
I feel like I need to look up how many wins he had now.
He was over 500, but closer than you think.
I don't know. There are other guys that. Now I'm on the defensive of Drew Bledsoe.
Yeah, I mean, listen, he was a very frustrating guy. As much as I liked him, he always made the same kinds of mistakes, and that used to drive me as crazy as it did anybody else.
44,000 yards.
Yeah, he's in terms of all-time passing, he's like top 20 of all time.
Yeah, 251 touchdowns. People want to say he was an interception machine. 206 for his career.
He was 98 and 95, in his career. With the Patriots, he was 63 and 60. Now, he also inherited the worst team in football when he got here. But, he's just a little over 500 in his career. That is what it is. 14-year career, 98 and 95. He was a little better than average. Nothing more. And as much as I love Drew, I remember the 94 season when he's the guy that put the team on his back and gave him a playoff berth by throwing for almost 4,600 yards in an era where you didn't do that.
Yep.
I remember individual games, they're losing 20 whatever to nothing to the Vikings, and they come back and win in overtime.
70 attempts.
He throws the ball
Kevin
70
Turner
times
for a touchdown.
No picks, no sacks.
Yeah.
70 attempts.
Guy got killed, by the way. You want to talk about Drake May not having an offensive line?
Yeah. But he did a lot of things that, ended up hurting the team. And that's why he lost his job.
And do you think that they identified the right quarterback in that draft?
Oh, yes. I think they had a sharp scouting eye, which allowed them to not take Spurgeon Wynn, but to take Tom Brady instead.
All right. Hey, the phone lines are loaded. We'll take a quick break. There's a ton of Bruins calls on here, so we'll take those. Celtics calls as well. We're here till 2 o'clock. Paul Perillo's here. I'm Joe Murray here on the Sports Hub.
Don't go anywhere. There's more Joe Murray. On the way on 98.5 The Sports Hub.
If I haven't asked you anything, I'm sorry. But I don't apologize.
We're getting the final thoughts time already?
No, I'm just, if you have any final
All
thoughts, if I didn't ask you anything, feel free to speak up, but there's a lot of Bruins calls on here. So where do we go? Let's, longest order of wait, Dean in Shrewsbury. Hello, Dean.
Hey, I actually think the Bruins have a chance at being pretty good next year. Now, you mentioned Mitch Marner at $13 million a year. They have $27 million in cap space, so if they can convince him they can get him for $13 million, still get a defenseman to replace Carlo, and still add depth. They'll have Hampus Lindholm, and McAvoy back next season. I bet you Ilias is better. I don't think he's going to be great, but I think he'll be better. And if they can reduce the workload on Swayman, I think he'll be right back to being a top 10 goalie. With a full off season instead of arguing over a contract. And they have the pick from Carlo and the pick from Coyle to trade, and they could even trade the pick from Marchand a year early. So they have a lot of things they can do to make the team good right away.
So I like a lot of that. I like the major free agent signing, if they could pull it off. But those are big ifs, like saying that they need to get Mitch Marner and then getting him is two different things. But, that would certainly help. And I totally agree about Hampus Lindholm and McAvoy.
Yeah, I just wonder if Swayman is a platoon guy.
But even if he is, that's okay.
Yeah, at $8 million a year.
No, but it's, again, we can hate the contract.
That's true.
And the reason why they had to pay it. But if he's that much better of a player, to Dean's words, if he's a top 10 goalie while in one of those platoons, then fine.
Hey, Dean, who's going to win today? Celtics or Orlando?
I think the Celtics are. I think part of the reason they lost on Friday is because the refs were letting them go. And I think that's one of the things that's coming down from the league to extend the series. They know Orlando's physical, and they know if they call it both ways the same and just let it be a physical team, Orlando has the advantage. But you're going to see the refs clamp down on that today because the league will probably want to even it out now. You know how the NBA is with fudging things all the time.
Yep, thanks,
I largely agree.
I agree too. I said it earlier.
What happens? It's
yeah.
There you go, Joe.
Smelly.
It's smelly.
It's gonna be real smelly. Let's talk to Frank the Tank. What's up, Frank?
What's up, guys? Look, I want to talk about the team going forward, but as far as the drafts go, look, you look at between 1972 and 2011, the in-between years when the Bruins won the Stanley Cup, the common thing in those years is there was too much inbreeding in the Boston Bruins organization. And the one time that they decided to not date one of their cousins at the family reunion, they go out and they get Peter Chiarelli as a GM, somebody who had nothing to do with the Bruins organization. And when he came in here, he had good picks in that. I mean, you got to hit not only on your first round picks, but you have to hit second and third and fourth round picks. There's been great hockey players to come out of the third and the fourth round. Patrice Bergeron was not a first-round pick, okay? So they need better scouting and development than what they have. And I think they need to go outside of the inner circle of Boston Bruins players and past, office people. Go get some new blood somewhere else. And as far as the future goes, this year's draft, it all hinges here. It really does. You've got some assets. Are you willing? Sweeney's been willing to make trades. He has made good trades, and it's not his fault that Rick Nash gets a concussion. I get all that. And I like the fact that they've had the balls to go for it with assets and everything. That's what a good general manager does, even though I don't think he's that great of a general manager, and I hated him as a player. There was never more of a wussy defenseman other than Glenn Wesley than Don Sweeney. But they need to take these assets, get better drafting, maybe take these picks, and get the team better now. Show some balls and some initiative, because you're not going to get Marner, guys. You're not. It's a pipe dream. It's not going to happen.
All right, Frank. Appreciate
Well, the drafting definitely has to improve. I mean, I this is the part that I don't really understand why Cam would push back so much on it.
I know. And then he had to bring up 2015 when I don't care about 10 years ago. I care about recent.
But it's just like, so why are you so talent deficient right now? Why are you having a hard time finding, centers? Because you don't have any in your organization. Why don't you have any in your organization? Because you haven't been able to draft well. Like, I don't understand how you can really push back on that. And again, I think they've done a lot of good things too. They absolutely deserve the opportunity to fix this, but let's not just pretend that this was like happenstance. They had a bad year because of, some unfortunate things. Yeah, they had some injuries last year. I thought they would be better last year than they ended up being. But they didn't play well. They didn't play well right at the start, before the injuries became a huge problem. And the whole thing with Swayman, I think, got everything off on a bad note. In training camp, allowing that to drag into training camp, they weren't ready to go.
Yeah, but the Bruins kind of hit on some of these trades that they made at the deadline. I think the Middlestad kid's okay. I know that some people don't like him. And then they traded for this, was it Minton kid? I think he can be someone that can help out, but yeah, Minton is his name. And Patra, but by the way, Providence is doing very well. I think they had the game winner the other night. If I'm looking ahead here, though, they'll probably have to re-sign Geeky. But between Middlestad, Pasternak, Zacha, Lindholm, Geeky, they really have nothing else. I do like the Hustadinov kid, but I think he's a third liner. Kastelik's still here. Can they get anything out of Patra? They need to fill 3 roles, 3 spots on that top 6. And even their third line for that. But they are loaded at defensemen. I think they're going to have to unload some of those. I don't know if it's Hampus Lindholm because he's been hurt, but Zadorov at $5 million. Like, Lowry, to me, I know you don't want to move on from young kids. I just don't think he's the guy.
See, I'm willing to be patient with him.
Yeah, I know.
It takes a while. It takes a while, especially offensive-minded defensemen. It takes a little bit. He'll be all right.
I agree. These young guys.
I'm not going to sugarcoat the season he had because he made a lot of mistakes, but I think that's part of the process. I'm not, call me sunshine.com for the Bruins too. I'm not giving up on him. I think there's some talent there.
Benny's in Oxford. What's up, Benny?
Hey, Joe. What's going on, man?
How you doing, bud?
Listen, I'm surprised you guys gave that caller a few calls back that long.
I heard Jordan Walsh
comment.
Yeah.
And then thousands of dollars to, they're getting paid thousands of dollars now. So they're actually saving money. That's interesting. The one name I wouldn't mind seeing, just like spot minutes, you mentioned Cade. I wanted to see Cade at Game 3, just the athleticism, and he's tougher, especially when Cornette got popped in the face. I wouldn't mind seeing some Cade minutes there. But worried about the team? Not really. I mean,
I'm not.
The 11-point quarter was horrific. Not yet. I'm not worried yet.
Yeah.
I can't be worried yet. Not
I'm with
one
you.
game.
I'm totally with you. They played it about as badly as you could play in the second half of that game. And even then, they're down, 12 with about 7 minutes left. They come back and they got the game tied. I think they're so much better than Orlando. Protect the ball a little bit, make a couple of shots, and I think you take care of business the next 2 games and we move on.
That was my thing, Paul. I mean, you had 13 turnovers between 2 stars.
Yep.
You know what I mean? And you lose by 2 at the end of the game, and it's still with whatever the clock issue was with that crap. The refereeing, I'm fine with. I mean, I don't
didn't really have an issue
ticket.
with the other stuff. It was just the Celtics issues to me. Like 11 points in the third quarter, and as you said, the 13 turnovers for Tatum and Brown, they're better than that. I just don't expect
way better.
I don't expect it to continue.
I wouldn't mind seeing Craig with some spot minutes if other guys like Hauser and Pritchard are struggling shooting. Like Craig, just a bigger body to kind of bang Banchero a little bit. But other than that, nothing more than like 5-10 minutes spot. Not even the 10 minutes, maybe 5-8 minutes. But other than that, just play better, guys. Just keep the ball.
Yeah.
Protect the ball.
All right, Benny.
Joe, find one of these guys at the end of the bench that's expendable. See if we can muck it up a little bit.
I mean, they brought in Craig as a kid. I mean, he's got playoff experience. He's tough. Like, I don't want to see any of those guys.
No, I mean, if they play, it's going to be like what he just said, a cameo spot, 5 minutes. But the guys, their frontline guys need to play better. Hopefully, Holiday's back in. What did you say the latest injury report? I know you said Tatum was on.
Jaylen Brown, questionable. Holiday out.
Holiday's out again, definitively out. So that's that to me is significant. He's a playoff guy. Don't you think he's a different player at this time of year?
Awesome in the first game. Yeah, there'll be another injury report that comes out, but yeah, the latest one had him out. Yep. Holiday out. Jaylen Brown, right knee posterior impingement. Not the finger. Mike is in Woburn. Hey, Mike.
Hey, guys. How are you?
Good, man.
Mike, I was hoping to hear from you today, to be honest. I'm dead serious. I was hoping that because I know you fill in the gaps of all my memories about some of the moves. Over
For what, the Bruins?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. Well, I'll fill in one gap for you here because I know, Joe, you just said you don't care about what happened 10 years ago, but Matt Tkachuk was drafted 10 years ago, and that's the heart of the Florida team. Like 10 years ago, what happened 10 years ago is why you don't have a core that you can build around right now, and you're in the position you're in. You know what I'm saying? So 10 years ago, part of what they did this year is kind of encouraging because they didn't repeat the mistakes of 10 years ago, which was they were clearly not a contender. They were borderline at, come the deadline, and they decided to buy 10 years ago. They bought Brett Connolly for 2 seconds, and they brought in Maxime Talbot. And that was because Peter Chiarelli was actually on probation at the time. They wouldn't let him trade a first-round pick, and they wouldn't let him trade for a veteran with an expiring contract. What should have happened 10 years ago, Cam should have just turned to Charlie and said, that's the guy you want to ask about 2015, because we were doing what we were told by him, which was after a January 6th edict where Charlie was made CEO, this team is a disgrace. All the money that we put into this team, we should be a playoff team. Charlie was the one. It came from down on high that they needed to be a playoff team. It's why they kept all their guys. They lost guys for nothing in free agency, and it's why they had to, in Don Sweeney's terms, accelerate the return on Dougie Hamilton. Did you know Dougie Hamilton left because they didn't want to put his brother on the team? They literally wanted Freddie Hamilton to be a mascot. The Hamilton family.
I thought it was because he didn't hang out with the guys because they were older.
Yeah,
and he was
no, but he wanted Freddie Hamilton to be on the team. He wanted the Bruins to trade for Freddie Hamilton. They traded him to Calgary. Who did Calgary get? Freddie Hamilton. If they had played hardball with Dougie Hamilton and traded him like the next year, guess where they pick? In Calgary's pick in 2016, where they took Matt Tkachuk. The reasons why you are in the positions you're in right now is because the front office, despite the obvious, refuses to let this team rebuild until recently, and that's why you don't have a core to build around right now.
See, this is why I like when Mike calls.
Yeah, my only issue with
because he has the details that
my only. Sorry, no, it's just because
I forget them.
My only issue with the 10 years ago thing is that I don't need the explanation of 10 years ago. Can you just tell me about the recent drafts that haven't worked out?
Right.
I mean, honestly, you could just say, yeah, we didn't repeat the mistakes of 10 years ago. We didn't trade for guys that wouldn't help us because our problems were bigger than you can solve at a deadline. You know what I mean? Like, again, if you looked back at those 2 years where they missed playoffs and they bought, and you thought about all the assets that they not only traded away, but assets that they let die on the vine, like Carl Soderberg, Louis Eriksson, guys that they could have traded to bring stuff back in. You're talking about a raft of picks, Like the Chicago dynasty didn't happen overnight. In 3 years, they made 37 draft picks, and they missed on most of them, but they got enough pieces. Just again, the draft is a lottery. The more scratch tickets you have, the better off you're going to be in terms of finding core pieces. And you can find them all over the draft. You could find them in the later rounds. But right now, the most important thing for this team is to not rush the rebuild and screw things up. You got to make a good pick at 4, 5, 6, or if they hit the lottery 1 or 2, and you got to look at this free agency and not load up the team with Boleskis and Backuses that you have to unload for picks later.
All right, thanks, Mike. Bolesky and Backus. I got PTSD thinking of all these guys that they had. Even I heard of Brett Conley in there.
Oh, but those are some of the guys that they added, quote unquote, at the deadline. Like at least a couple years ago when they had the record-setting season. They
got Bertuzzi.
They go, Bertuzzi, Orlov, and even Hathaway, good, solid, third, fourth line, physical checking kind of guy. You're going all in. You have a team that's capable of winning. You're going all in. To Mike's point, they're augmenting a roster that at best was like first-round fodder. Like that's not the year to go all in. That's not the year to give up any assets to do that. And, ultimately he ended up being right.
All right, on the other side here, I want to do prank calls and kickers. We'll do that next. Here on 98.5 The Sports Hub.
You're listening to Joe Murray on 98.5. You're listening to
All right, final segment here, 98.5 The Sports Hub. Prank calls at the draft. Happened twice, not only to Shedeur Sanders, but it happened to Tyler Warren. And it was from the same number. Out on this.
Those Ole Miss guys? It was supposedly like Ole Miss frat guys that
Yes,
did this?
yeah. By the way, the Ole Miss people got their...
Yeah, no, I know. They must be proud.
Oh, no, but there's other things going on over
there. I know what you're talking about.
And some outlets are going to get in trouble for that.
Yep.
Not us. But yes, out on this, and it's kind of messed up.
It's
because
horrible.
I feel like Shedeur Sanders had one phone just for this draft, and somehow they got the number. So were they hacked? Is that what happened here?
I guess. I guess that could happen. Either that or someone really... See, the fact that it happened to two different people tells me that some kind of hacking involved. But I was originally thinking, does he have someone in his inner circle that did him dirty? I mean, it's horrible. I mean, it's bad enough that the kid goes through what he went through over the weekend, and now he's got to deal with that, like they're mocking him. Yeah.
How do you feel about
How
do you feel about the Patriots drafting a kicker from Miami?
So he was considered the best kicker. I'm not a huge drafting kicker guy. I think most of the best kickers are just
undrafted guys.
Drafted guys, sign them. I'm not a huge fan of it. Now they had 11 picks. They used one on a kicker. No big deal. Long snapper. Okay, now we're really getting a little silly. But I think that the Miami kid Borealis, I think he was considered to be the best kicker on the board. So if you wanted him and you thought he was special, draft him.
There's two. Loop was the other kid. The one's from Arizona.
He went to Baltimore, which is interesting.
Which might be the end of Tucker there. But can they kick in cold weather is where I'm going with it.
Yeah, that'll be the big question. That's something that Bill was always interested in when he was dealing with those guys and what kind of conditions they were used to. Because obviously it's not easy to kick in New England.
Borealis. It was interesting. Springer worked with the kid he just got released from the Rams. Oh, no, the Colts. Was it Gay?
Matt Gay.
I feel like he'd be the guy to bring in.
So that's kind of what my feeling is on kickers is, listen, you can have a year like Ryland had a couple years ago where he's so ineffective that he's costing you games. I don't think that happens a ton. I think most kickers are around the same. There's a couple every year that are just like the kid for Dallas, Aubrey was like unbelievable.
Detroit's kicker too.
Daniel Carlson has been really good. Obviously, Tucker has been the standard for a long time. He fell off a little last year. Those guys are special, but let's say the 5th to the 25th there's not that much difference. They all make like the same amount. It's what you do when the game's on the line. That was what made Adam special, right? Vinatieri never missed when it mattered. Then that's what you need to have.
That's it. That's all I got on the draft. How do you feel about stealing home?
A little Jaron Duran talk here for the last 5 minutes. Yeah, listen, you have an opportunity. The guy was going from the windup. They see something, take a shot. Those kinds of little individual feats don't necessarily, stop me in my tracks. But I have no problem that he stole home. You tack on a run. The guy wasn't paying attention, going from the windup. You have the speed to do it. Go. You don't like it?
Nah, you know what it is? I feel like working.
Are you Tony Mass? No. Are you just anti-fun?
I'm not that at all. I like fun a lot. I think that's where I'm going with this. Is that I think between hitting for the cycle.
So I would say hitting for the cycle is one of those things that I kind of agree with Tony. But if you get 4 hits, you're helping the team. I don't need them to be one of each. Like you're stealing home, you're getting me a run. You're stealing me a run. Like that helps the team. I like that.
How'd you feel about the drop kick when it happened?
Yeah. Does nothing for me. Does nothing for me at all.
I'm telling you.
I'm going to lose my Boston sports card. A lot of those things, they just don't really do anything.
Yeah. Again, when I saw that he stole home, I was like, yeah. So again, it's not. Maybe it is the Maz effect. I used to get excited about those kind of things. Now and the Red Sox are playing right now, and Duran had a leadoff single, and they wasted it again. So
okay.
I'm not as I was very high on the Red Sox this year, but now they're kind of boring me a little bit. But anyways, that's it today.
Just kind of like stuck at 500.
Yeah, they're just the.
They need to go out and win like 15 out of 20, and then get everybody excited.
Yeah, I think they made some moves, but
they're better. It's a better team.
They are better. Oh, no doubt about it.
It's a better team than it has been.
Just like the Patriots will be a better team than we've seen already this year.
And Joe says under 8.5.
Under 8.5 as of right now. Mark Dondero's coming up next. What you got, Mark?
Under 8.5?
Over 8.5.
Over 8.5.
Over 8.5.
That's the Mark Dondero I know and that I've done shows with.
Yep. Thank you.
What do you got today?
We're gonna do a lot of draft stuff. We're gonna do Belichick because it tickled me. And then some other stuff on the Celtics leading into a Celtics game. They're a big game here, game 4. So a lot to do.
All right. Paul, I enjoyed working with you today.
You made 4 hours go by very fast, Joe, even though you're playing hurt. I appreciate you coming in playing hurt for me.
It's the Vegas Blues, baby. All right, well, thanks, Paul Perillo. Great job. Go check out all his work and all the coverage that he has put into the draft. Patriots.com. Jeff Williams, thank you, sir. Excellent job, as always. Mark Dondero's coming up next. I'm Joe Murray. I'll talk to you guys tomorrow night.
Coming up on the Sports Hub.
Hi, this is Jeff Kaplan from Innuendo. The sun's up earlier and is ready to ruin your expensive flooring and furniture. It's time for automated window and skylight shades from